I interviewed Nicky Y a few years ago. I think it was around the time of their 30th anniversary as a band, and I said, what would you say to the 15, 16-year-old Nicky Y? And he said, just stop being such a gobshite.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Episode 88, Stupid and Contagious podcast. This week, we're speaking to Neil Collins about his book, International Velvet, on the Welsh music scene in the 90s. Another Neil Collins. That doesn't happen very often, does it?
It's unbelievable, really.
I think that's probably the first time it's ever happened in history that Neil Collins has interviewed Neil Collins. Probably is.
I think it probably is. Yeah.
But it's a common name, isn't it?
Oh, Collins is, but Neil isn't really.
No, but I think almost every Neil has a surname Collins.
Dave, have you ever met a David Webber?
Well, my cousin, who's sadly not with us anymore, was called David Webber.
Yeah,
There you go.
So, David, but you didn't interview him, you just spoke to him.
Well, I guess it was an interview of sorts.
Well, I guess so, yeah. It's the same thing, really, isn't it? A conversation. But that bloke made a career out of it, didn't he? Dave Gorman, finding people that had the same name.
Oh,
yes, yeah. That's right.
It was surprisingly good as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. But yeah, we're speaking to Neil Collins later. He wrote the book International Velvet about the Welsh music scene in the 90s. So it's a good chat, that. So that's coming up. But before that, what's everyone been up to? Dave, what's the Berwick news? Bi-weekly. What happened last week? There's a worm last week.
Last week was a slow worm.
Yeah.
That was the big news.
There's no news, but I have actually got something that I thought was interesting.
Go on.
Mm.
But I'll form it as a quiz question because you might know.
Oh, your quizzes are shit, though.
Who wrote? I only found this out this week. Who wrote the song "I Am the One and Only" by the Chesney Hawkes song?
Oh, I know this.
So it's not him then, obviously.
Oh man,
Well,
I was reading about Chesney Hawkes recently.
He's in a film, isn't he, Roger Daltrey?
It is Roger Daltrey, isn't it, that wrote it?
it's not.
It's not. I
He's
got
in a
him.
film.
But I particularly enjoyed this fact because I was a massive fan.
Was that Tundi, was it?
Not Tundi. Nick Kershaw.
No.
Was it Nick Kershaw?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I like Nick Kershaw.
That's great.
It's such a good song, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to know what else he wrote. Yeah.
Well, he did Wouldn't It Be Good, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, what? That wasn't
No, but I
his?
mean, that he didn't sing. I'll go and find that out for next week.
That makes perfect
Right.
sense. It's one of my favourite songs, that I Am the One and Only, and I love a bit of Nick Kershaw, so there you go.
Yeah.
There it is. Good facts.
I've
Good
got one
fact.
other thing as well.
Okay.
I can't give anything away about it. Just watched
Oh.
Conclave yesterday actually.
I've seen
Which-
that. Yeah,
I thought it was really good. I don't know what Luke thinks.
I liked
What
it.
about what I think?
Well, you haven't seen it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a film
And
about
what do you want to say?
popes.
What do you want to say about it, Dave?
Just how good it was. So this is a pop culture sort of podcast, isn't it? So I just thought I'd
Sure.
sort of share it.
Yeah.
Share that.
So I said before, I tried to watch all of the Oscar-nominated films, so that's why I watched it. And I was kind of dreading it because it's 2.5 hours on about choosing a fucking pope, but it was really good.
It's
Yeah,
about
it's great.
potpourri.
Yeah. Not potpourri.
Not potpourri, not like dried flowers and shit.
I used to get that from my nan every Christmas, potpourri.
Oh, she hated it. She
She
never felt
hated it. She was hoping for a dildo. She's like, fucking potpourri again. I've been giving him I've been
Right.
giving hints all year.
I've been watching something good this week as well. Now we're
Go
talking
on.
about watching stuff. That This City Is Ours. Have you been watching it?
I've seen the trailers.
Oh, it's good, man.
I was
Watch it.
tempted.
It's
Yeah,
really
all right.
good. Yeah, it's really good. It's like a London gangster sort of drama, but it's really good. I like it anyway. So
Well, if we're
been
thinking
watching
about watching stuff, I watched a couple of 90s films this week.
that. Oh yeah,
Oh,
First one, well, I was listening to the True Cult Pop podcast,
Kindergarten
and they were
Cop.
talking about, well, Kindergarten Cop's one of them. I watched that yesterday. How did you know that?
I don't know.
That was weird, man.
That just came on.
I was just browsing
popped into my
Netflix and
head.
it came up, and I was like, I love that. It was fucking good, man. It was really good.
I watched that at the cinema, I think.
Yeah, totally held up. So that was one. The
Yeah.
other one was Airheads. Do you remember
I've
that?
never seen it. Never seen
Oh,
it.
what's that again?
Right.
Yeah,
So
I've
it's
never seen it.
Brendan Fraser,
That's right.
Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi. They're like three metalheads, and they basically, but by accident, they take over like a radio station to try to make them play their demo, basically.
Yeah.
And it's good, man. It's good. And that in one of the early scenes, there's a massive therapy poster in their room for the
Nice.
Nurse album, which I
Right.
enjoyed a lot.
Did,
Yeah, it's great.
did it look dated or did it hold up?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah, it
90s,
looked
wasn't it?
dated, but it held up. Yeah.
I went to see that War of the Worlds yesterday, didn't I?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. How was
Tell
that?
you what, it's one of the best things I've ever seen.
What?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was going to be good anyway. I'm a big fan of the musical, and it was just brilliant. There's something about if you've never done it, you need to go and do it. Go and watch a full choir live in concert. It's something else. So there's that, and then there's a story, and it was just brilliant. The show was really good. All the lights and stuff, and the fucking Martian tripod thing comes down from the ceiling. It's pretty spectacular.
It's not very likely. I would say the chances of anything
it's a true
coming from
story.
Mars are 1,000,000 to 1.
More than that.
They always choose quite a
Some-
sort of varied cast for it. So they had Charlie from Busted. He was
Yeah.
one of them. They had the guy from The Wanted who's going out with the girl from EastEnders. They were a couple in it. They're a couple in the story, and they were a couple they're a couple in real life. And then they had the guy from Enter Shikari.
I
The
don't
singer
know.
from Enter Shikari. He was the artillery man was his character. So he did something, but he played a trumpet as well, which he did live. So yeah, it was just really good. If people are into the musical, then definitely go and watch it because you won't be disappointed. Like I say, watching an orchestra in a live setting is.
You said a choir earlier.
Which one
Didn't
is
mean
it?
choir. I can't do words, can I?
That's true. That's
It's
true.
an orchestra.
Yeah.
Orchestra.
Mm.
People talk about it all the time, but you do have this sort of weird sort of out of body experience. They got quite emotional when they started playing and stuff. A lot of people say it happens.
Good on you, man.
Yeah, it's really
Sounds
good.
great.
No, it
Yeah.
was good, and it was a matinee, so I was home by like 6 o'clock. Perfect.
Yeah.
Didn't get
It's in
too
Brighton.
tired. Brighton Centre, yeah.
No, Brian Centre, great.
So I was sitting up in the seats right at the top, and in the cheap seats. I was reminiscent of watching the Levellers there as well because it's the same room. It all looks
Yeah.
the same, really. It's just
Yeah.
sort of status quo there as well.
I saw Fun-Loving Criminals up in those high seats.
Did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Centre.
It's a good little venue. It's not huge, is it? It's a good size, I think. Who else did I see there? Seen a few people there.
I saw Brian Cox in concert there.
Did you? I want to see him in concert.
What was that about?
Space.
Yeah, I like all that stuff.
Oh, I fucking hate that
I
guy.
believe him. No, I believe him. I trust him.
So,
I trust him.
do you listen to the Infinite Monkey Cage? I fucking hate that. There always got adverts for
a
it comes
few
up on other
times.
podcasts I listen to, and I was like, oh, this is the most annoying thing in the world.
I knew you'd hate it.
I do.
I like him. I don't understand what he's talking about, but I like him. If he tells me something's going to happen, I'd listen to him.
I do find his perma-grin annoying.
Right, yeah, he's
It's
always happy,
perma-green.
isn't he? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always got that. He's always one of these
bit
always
freaky.
happy people. Permagrin, that's a good one. Good way of putting it.
And he's Mr. 90s, isn't he? As well.
D-Ream,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
D-Ream.
Brings us
Yeah.
back to the 90s.
Here we
Yeah.
go. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Segue. Luke, what else you been up to apart from watching Potpourri?
Not a lot, but I just want to correct my terrible faux pas from last week, which it's been plaguing me all week.
Oh no, what was it?
Might not let you.
Well,
Might cut this
It's
out.
you can. Well, I claim that Half Man Half Biscuit had a song Gary Davis Eyes. Of course, it was Dickie Davis Eyes. Which, as soon as we stopped recording, it's funny. It is funny.
Yeah.
As soon as we stopped recording, I knew something was off, and I was like, "Oh man!" I looked it up. So
That's funnier.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
I bet people were shouting at their phones, and so.
Oh, mate, it's
That's what
not as bad
that's
as
what
the
we
one you
want
did the
myself.
week before.
Which one was that?
When
I
you
probably didn't
accused the
notice.
guest of being,
That
made
wasn't
it
the
out
first.
like
I don't mind that. I don't mind that, but that kind of
What was it you
factual
said?
mistake. I just said you're shit. You're a shit bass player.
Yeah.
To one of the best bass players in the world.
Yeah.
I'd be much more worried about that.
A
to be
living
honest.
god, almost, basically.
Yeah. I make mistakes every 5 minutes on this podcast. I try to sort of rectify them in real time.
Yeah.
But your
So you just
mistakes are
don't-
charming, you see. And mine aren't.
I
That's the
won't go that
difference.
far.
He hasn't got
Yeah.
the mental bandwidth to regret any of them because there's so many of them.
Exactly.
All right. It's true. It is true. All right. Let's get into this week's episode with Neil Collins and Luke Lawrence in an interview together. Let's talk about his book first, International Velvet. So this week's podcast, amazingly, is still sponsored by Shire Curios.
Yes. Thanks, Shire
He's
Curios.
coming back for more.
Yeah.
Let's
he
presume he
working
still
then?
hasn't listened.
I think he said he's just going to bung some more money. And so, that's really
Oh,
kind
brilliant.
of him. He said it might
Appreciate
not be for much longer because, Donald Trump's fucking everything up for everyone. But yeah,
Mm.
for this week, our podcast is sponsored by Shire Curio. So let's get the.
So Trump's even fucking up cheese label business.
Yeah.
He's fucking
Targeting
everything
it,
up,
especially.
man. So, it needs no introduction these days. Everyone knows who Shire Curios is, don't they?
And you said
But-
it perfectly as well, man. You got that down. Good on you,
But
man.
if-
I'm proud of you.
Well, I've learned new words, haven't I? But if anyone hasn't listened to the last 2 episodes, then Shire Curios is a family online retailer selling all sorts of collectibles from vinyl to cameras to vintage beer and cheese labels.
Especially.
They've got 20,000 listings on eBay and a positive feedback score of over 27,000.
What's their negative feedback score?
400,000. I don't know. They haven't got a negative feedback score.
No. Sorry.
Everyone is a satisfied customer. I'm going to read it out from Richard's email. So it's I pretend I am Richard. Okay.
All
So
right.
we've got a load of
You are
90s
a
vinyl
dick.
recently. Nice. Yeah.
Sorry, Richard.
Not call him Richard a dick, right? You just call him
No,
Neil.
you. I was saying you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Neil,
we've got
not
a
Neil
load of-
Collins. This week's guest. You, Neil Collins.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a load of 90s vinyl recently that should be of interest to the listeners. Luke, you've been on there, haven't you, to have a look?
Yeah.
And
Some good bits and bobs on there. Yeah.
so to find them, you just need to search for the shop Shy Curios in eBay. And you set up a coupon code of Stupid 10, which gives 10%
Coupon.
off.
Cool.
I got the other bit right.
You
You
did.
don't
you
expect
did.
me to get everything right.
No.
Coupon code of Stupid 10, which will give you 10% off absolutely everything we have for sale until end of April. So we're halfway through April now.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of weeks left on that. If you enter it at checkout, and there's also a multi-buy discount of 20% off purchases of more than one record. So, Dave, have you been on there yet? You said you were going to go on there and buy
I
some
promised
stuff.
last week I would go on it. I've failed to.
Did.
I haven't gone on it yet.
Promise again.
I am a, customer who would buy vinyl.
If that is your thing, then please do go on there because, people like Richard kind enough to sponsor the podcast. So if you can just go on and have a look, find something you like and buy something, do him a favour, do us a favour. That's how it works, isn't it? Link in the show notes, Shy Curios on eBay. Go there now, buy some vinyl, Stupid 10, money off, bada bing.
Bob's your uncle. Yeah.
Is it just me? And to people
Probably.
watching, does Neil look like he's wearing an apron?
Oh, you did this last time.
He looks like he's got his little apron on for doing some cooking.
Well, the day Neil does
if it
some
had the
fucking
thing.
cooking is hell freezes over.
Eh? Cooking up
Yeah.
heroin, aren't
No.
hot tons, innit?
Hot
Just sort of
dogs.
cooking I do.
Yeah,
Hot
Yeah.
knives, whatever they're called.
whatever, man. Whatever. All the same.
Right. So if you are watching this, then please do subscribe to the channel. Get involved in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. Yeah, let us know your favourite Welsh bands from that period. Comment on the interview in general. It's an interesting interview, so get involved in the comments section. And if you're listening, then please do rate, review, share it with your friends so that they can find the podcast. We've got an app, the Stupid app. You can download if you're on iPhone. Not yet on Android. We'll try and sort that out this next couple of weeks, Dave. That's my fault, really. But yeah, so you can go seamlessly from the podcast to Luke's mixtapes, which you should all be listening to, that come with each podcast episode. That's it, isn't it? Seems to
Yeah,
get shorter
good to
each
me.
week.
He's just getting better at it. It's getting smoother.
Can I read
Dave's
the
happy.
ads out next time? That could be a job
Yeah.
for me to read out the ad.
What, the Shy
If
Curio?
we're sponsored again.
Yeah, if
Well,
we're sponsored again.
It definitely is for one more week. So yeah, I'll send it to you.
I'm a bit posher than Neil, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Persuasive. People
Yeah.
trust you.
Yeah, well, we should have done that from the start. It could have given Dave something to do for once.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
Fucking do
next
something.
week.
Earn your keep.
All right, yeah, next week it's all yours. Hand it over. Right, so Luke, you've read the book.
I have. Do you want me to do a quick introduction? I managed to find out a few things about Neil
Yeah,
Collins.
so we were tasked with reading the book. Obviously, if we're going to do an interview with someone about their book, then we need to have all the info at hand, right? So
Yeah.
obviously I don't read books, so I
No.
opted out of that. But Luke kindly
read it
the
in a
book,
day
and there we go.
and enjoyed it
So
very
Luke,
much.
tell us about the book.
Well, I'm going to tell you about Neil Collins
Or
first. of all.
about Neil Collins. Is he better than me?
Yeah.
He's better than me. Because at the moment on this podcast, I'm the big dog in terms of Neil Collins.
I'm pretty sure he's better.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
might be right. Oh well.
All right.
Good while
So-
it lasted.
Neil Collins, born 1977, second son of Carol and Chuck Norris in Seaford, Sussex. No, Henley-on-Thames, sorry.
That's right.
I've-
I've done on 10.
I've done the completely wrong research, man. I've researched the wrong bloke. These notes are fucking useless. All right,
Okay.
Neil Collins.
Deep dive into his psyche,
Yeah, oh
Not
God.
mine.
God.
his
Don't go
mental
in
health
there.
and stuff.
Don't
Yeah.
go in there. Don't go in.
Don't go into that. That's where he wears,
No.
wears that apron. Journalist, author, podcaster, marketing manager. He's
I forgot
about
we were both podcasters as well.
yeah. He's about 10 years younger than us. 9 years younger than us. I think I worked out from his answers in the interview.
So I was the
So
original
born
one.
86, 87, so about 39 years old in Wales, in Cardiff.
He's too young
um,
for the podcast.
No,
How
the
did he
book's about the
slip through?
90s. He's all right.
But hang on,
Um,
wasn't his
yeah.
handle Neil Collins 88, which probably
Oh,
means
was
he's
it?
born 88?
I didn't see that. In that case,
Dave
88
picks
it
up
is.
on handles, doesn't he?
Nice handle pick. Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
And he went to the same university as me, University of West of England, UWE.
University
in
of
Bristol.
Life.
University of Life, man.
Did he tell everyone it was Bristol University as well? Or was that just you?
I never did it because I didn't know the difference. I had no idea one was better than the other.
Ah, yes, of course you did. There must have been.
I had
huge
literally no
rivalry in town.
idea. Well, there was when I got there, and I remember they had they used to have a rowing race, like Oxford and Cambridge, but it was like the Bristol University against UWE.
And you had like a dinghy, and they had like a proper.
Yeah, it's like one of those bad 80s kind of teen comedies where the underdog nerd group somehow has to go against the jocks.
built your own raft out of those cats, whatever they used to build rafts out of.
Yeah, those
Cats.
plastic oil kind of thing. I did watch a film that had exactly that storyline not too long ago called Up the Creek.
Maybe
It
it
was
was based
exactly
on the
that
Bristol
storyline.
rowing rivalry.
It was so 80s. It's probably the most unnecessary tits I've seen in a 80s teen comedy. It was just ridiculous.
It was
It's
amazing.
great.
That. They were everywhere, weren't they?
They were. No, and then so I remember this is what made me realise it. And then like everyone from UWE, they were shouting at the Bristol University supporters, Oxford rejects. They were shouting at them. It's like an insult. And I was like, oh, really? Are they like that good? I had no idea about university rankings when I applied. I just applied for the course. I had no idea. It's true. No, I had no. Why would you? I don't know. Why would I know? Anyway, studied English, got himself a 2-1, same as me.
Same.
But you didn't study English.
No, you studied like fucking book, TV studies. Or something. Yeah,
media studies. Just watch films. Yeah. Did they call it at your university? If you got 2-2, did they call it a Desmond?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
That always makes me laugh.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. Yeah. Yeah, they did. Started off as a reporter for Media Wales, went to work for Cardiff City Council, and he's now some kind of marketing manager for a concert venue, his day job. But he's also author. He's written 2 books about Liverpool FC. One's called Make Us Dream, the other's called Red Mist. And he's written a novel as well called Thick as Thieves.
Right.
What do you reckon it's about?
Some really stupid thieves.
I think so. It's about a couple of teenagers in like a small Welsh Valleys town, and I think they commit murder because they're bored. I think it's a pretty basic premise.
Quite good.
He is the co-host of a podcast called the Welsh Music Podcast, which interviews basically Welsh stars, not only musicians. I think all kinds of Welsh people. I think they interview on there.
Does Dave qualify as Welsh?
Yeah, well, he's kind of half Swedish, half Welsh, isn't he?
Yeah, half Swedish, half Welsh.
Basically.
Yeah. What a combo. Look at him. He looks half Swedish, half Welsh, doesn't he?
He totally does. Yeah.
I'm not Welsh or Swedish at all.
But the main reason we got him on the podcast is his newish book came out last year called International Velvet: How Wales Conquered the 90s Charts. And basically, as he talks about in the interview, basically kind of all different elements of Welsh culture, politics and sport and culture and music and everything like that all together, how Wales kind of emerged from the dark days of the 80s, where it was seen as a kind of a cultural backwater, to basically exploding over the international charts. And the whole kind of Cool Cymru kind of scene, movement and stuff like that. And it's a really good book, and I recommend people give it a read. That's Neil Collins, the other Neil Collins.
There's not much more to say on it, is there? So let's just listen to the interview, and then we'll reconvene back here and we'll have a chat about it. So here's Neil Collins, writer of International Velvet. Enjoy. Neil Collins, thanks so much for coming on. Another Neil Collins. You don't get those very often, do you?
This is amazing. Yeah. Is this the only reason I've been invited on, or?
That's basically it. Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah.
Just Googling. That's what came out.
Yeah. I've never met another Neil Collins. Yeah. It's just quite mad.
Yeah. This is quite rare, I think. Where are you zooming in from, Neil?
So I'm in Bridgend, which is about 20 miles from Cardiff. Not quite as exotic where you are, Luke, but
Bridgend, Tokyo,
much of a muchness,
much of a muchness.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know,
it's
the other
nice,
Neil Collins,
Bridgend.
Go on, Bridgend.
What's that? Sorry, I missed what you said, Neil.
No, I think there's a delay on my.
There's a bit.
You're a bit
delay,
slow, Neil. Yeah.
I'm
not saying you're a slow person. I think your internet's a bit slow.
Yeah. Is that me or your Neil? Or?
It's Neil Collins.
All right, yeah.
But just carry on with your question.
I was just going to say, for people that may not know who you are, could you introduce yourself just very briefly to the listeners?
Yeah, so I'm a former journalist at Wales Online, and I've been a host of the Welsh Music Podcast, which celebrates the best of Welsh music and culture, past, present, and future, since 2019. And that's how my new book came about, International Velvet: How Wales Conquered the 90s Charts.
There we go. And this podcast is still going?
Yes, very intermittently. So we've had an extended hiatus, really. James has had family issues to deal with. I've been writing the book for the last 3 years, so it's kind of gone on the back burner. But we did text each other last night saying we'll try and get a pod out later this week. So fingers crossed, yeah.
But the archives and stuff are all there. So what can people expect if they have a look at it?
Yeah, so we interviewed someone who's given like a key contribution to Welsh music and culture. They talk about their career and their life in the first half of the episode, and then they choose a favourite Welsh album to listen to. So there's stuff in the archives about 60 Foot Dolls, Gorky Zygotic Monkey, Manic Street Preachers, Stereophonics. There's lots of Super Furry Animals on there, so if you're a fan of them, I'd really recommend checking her out. Then you've got like stuff like Datblygu as well, who are sort of Welsh language sort of pioneers, really. Yeah. So yeah, there's quite a sort of archive to explore already. Yeah. So we will get back into it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to diving back in.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a lot of work in it, podcasts.
well, luckily, my co-host looks after all the technical side of things because I'm a total Luddite with all that sort of thing.
Me too. Luckily, yeah.
So you do all that sort of thing, Neil, is it?
Yeah, that's it. I do all the technical stuff, and Luke's got all the knowledge, so it works. And then Dave's just there just to be Dave.
Yeah.
So where's Dave then? We're missing Dave today, aren't we?
He doesn't get
not allowed. He's not allowed in the interview. He's not.
Is he not?
He can't be trusted.
Right.
He can't be trusted for that. No.
Yeah,
Although he did used to live in Cardiff, though, so he's
did he? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's right. Small
Went
world.
to university there. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people stay in Cardiff after it. It is a great city. I mean, I kind of take it for granted because I'm sort of born and bred there, really. But yeah, it is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to visit them at university. I had a good time in Cardiff. Although, no, I had a bit of a bad time in Cardiff, but that was
let's not
related to other stuff. No, that's not good.
You mentioned your book, International Velvet. What was the initial push to start writing it?
So I've wanted to write a book on music for years, really. I'm a Liverpool fan, so I've written 2 books in the past about them. But they were like about 10 years ago, so it's a long time out of the sort of writing game, really. And when we first started the podcast, we actually thought, this could become a book because for a country of 3 million people, I think we have always sort of punched above our weight, really. And I don't think we've celebrated enough of our achievements for such a tiny country. So in 2021, the University of Wales Press emailed the podcast. It was just as we were coming out of the lockdowns, and asked if we were up for writing a history of Welsh music. So that would be a really tall order in terms of like, where do you start? And you'd end up, if you did an exhaustive history, it would be you're skimming over everything to get everything in. So you would be able to go into sufficient depth. So I thought that I'm like you guys, incredibly sort of like nostalgic about the era you grew up in. I think everyone's got rose tinted specs to an extent about when they grew up, but I think the 90s was different.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
There was something really in the water across the country, really, with 90s music.
I think so.
Yeah, and although it was reported on extensively at the time, that sort of whole Cool Cymru era, there's never been a book about it. So with 25 years of hindsight, it seemed a really good time to look back on an era, and there was like a real positivity of Wales, not just in terms of the music, but culture as well. You had stars like Rhys Ifans and Catherine Zeta-Jones going on their way to sort of Hollywood fame. You had the language as well, which was on a lot more of an equal footing. So the Welsh Language Act in 1993 put Saesneg and Cymraeg, Welsh and English, on more of an equal footing in everyday life in Wales. So you'd see it on signs. It changed daily education in Wales. So I'd have half hour a day from 1993 onwards. Then you've got the sport as well, which was, not such a great era for Welsh football, but still had some, world-class sort of names, like sort of Ian Rush, Ryan Giggs, Mark Hughes, the late, great Gary Speed. And so you had Joe Calzaghe as well on the way to an unprecedented 46-0 career, which I still don't think he gets quite enough recognition
He
for.
doesn't.
Really.
I often think that. He's sort of overlooked, isn't he? And I don't know why.
And on that journey as well, like he beat like people like Chris Eubank, Jeff Lacey and people like that. But yeah, we're not a sort of boxing. I'm not going to go into a boxing tangent, but yeah, like Colin Jackson, people like that went through. But on top of that as well, you had the rise of Welsh politics as well. So after the sort of resounding no to devolution, like in 1979, there was finally a yes vote in 1997. So it's a real feel-good factor encapsulating 5 sort of aspects, really. So music, culture, sports, language, and politics. So yeah, it did seem like a really good time to go back to that era and reflect and what's changed and what hasn't, the last quarter century.
Yeah. How did you go about doing your research for it?
So I went about it in a way, really, that probably no writing tutor would recommend, in terms of I wrote the book entirely non-chronologically. So I wrote about whichever band was interesting me that day. And it is quite a daunting prospect to be writing, aptly a book on the 90s in 90,000 words as well. So you think, geez, I've got a hell of a lot of ground to cover here. But I kind of broke it into like a load of mini essays, which makes it a lot more mentally sort of doable. So basically, like, to go into the minutiae of what I did, I put it all on the sort of hard drive. I'd break it down into bands, but then into different albums and even like EPs and singles, but also sort of different themes within that, like flag waving and Welsh language and sort of the relationship between the bands, because there was quite a lot of friction between the Stereophonics and Manic Street Preachers at the time. So loads of different sort of aspects like that. So I knew that I could quickly grab a quote or whatever. And I knew that some of the sort of bigger hitters, so to speak, would be the harder ones to get the interviews with. So I tried with all of them. But with the Manics and Stereophonics and Super Furries and bands like that, I knew that if they didn't come through, they've been interviewed that extensively over the last 30 years. You're always going to be able to find a quote on the net to support what you're on about. But it was great, actually, exploring some of the bands you hear less of, the likes of 60 Foot Dolls, Mellis, who were a really underrated band from that era. Dat Bluggy, who were, it's interesting as well. I thought it was essential to go back to what created that 90s boom as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So you in the first chapter, you kind of paint it as, it was perceived as what's your words, musical backwater. You're not saying it was, but it was perceived by outsiders to be a musical backwater pre-1990s. I mean, why do you think that was? That had that perception?
So I think you even get that sort of pushback from the Capitol now, like in terms of I was watching a documentary actually about I don't know whether you remember it, guys, but there was do you know the tsunami in Indonesia in 2005? This sounds like a huge tangent, but it's not. Remember the tsunami in 2004? There was that concert at the Millennium Stadium then. It was kind of like our sort of version of Live Aid. Yes, that was in January 2005, so 20-year anniversary documentary. And they were saying that there was still that London-centric sort of apathy towards this concert because it wasn't happening in London, and it was like, oh God, it's just going to be rubbish in Wales and all that sort of thing.
That's right, because, sorry to interrupt, but because when they were building Wembley, a lot of the football matches got moved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, there was a bit of a. I remember. Sorry, but carry on. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because I remember there was quite a lot of media coverage at the time, like, oh, it's sacrilege that the FA Cup final should be held outside England and all this sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, but going back to what I was saying, it's funny because, like, we've always had these sort of musical touch points that have been really, really big. So you've got the likes of Badfinger, who should have been huge. I don't know whether you guys are familiar with them, but one of the most tragic stories in rock and roll, really. 2 of their band members died by suicide.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah. So they got into like a deal with an unscrupulous manager who were left pretty much penniless, despite selling like 15 million albums worldwide. You know. And Pete Ham, the main songwriter, hung himself. And then a few years later, Tom Evans, who was his bandmate, did the same because he couldn't help, couldn't cope without his mates around, So, really tragic tale. And when you think of stuff like Without You, it became a huge song for Mariah Carey subsequently, but they won an Ivor Novello for that. And then stuff like The Last Ever Scene of Breaking Bad is a Badfinger song. It's Baby Blue.
Right.
So it's sad as well that they weren't around to see those sort of moments as well, you know. But on top of that, you've got like musicians like John Cale, like arguably one of the most influential musicians around.
Coolest,
exactly,
yeah.
You know, a Welshman in the Velvet Underground. You know, it doesn't get much cooler than that.
No.
You've got stuff like then The Alarm, who had transatlantic success. They did their very own sort of live aid sort of thing where it was in the University of Los Angeles, where it was like streamed around, you know, broadcast around the world. That was in '84, I think. So yeah, you've had all these moments, but I think by the '90s, perhaps what happened then is that there wasn't so much for alternative fans to get you know excited about. So there was stuff like Scritti Politti and Young Marble Giants, which was a favourite of Kurt Cobain. So there was cool moments like that, but Wales kind of became caricatured by 4 mega selling artists. That's Tom Jones, Shirley Bassey, Bonnie Tyler, and Shakin' Stevens. So
we talk a lot about Shakin' Stevens on the podcast.
Luke's obsessed with Shakin' Stevens.
It was my first love was Shakin' Stevens. What can I say? Yeah.
And like, you know, like
it's like the third week in a row we've talked about him. Go on.
You know, it's not music necessarily for me, but in its own sort of merit and field, it's hugely successful. Like I think he was the biggest selling UK artist of the 80s.
Wasn't he? For the 80s,
yeah. But I think it did feed into
great songs though. Great songs, Shakin'.
Yeah. I think it did feel sort of feed into that London-centric view of Wales shouldn't be taken seriously, though. Do you get what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also, there's always the thing with Wales of it being this caricature land of, you know, sheep. And I mean, there's 3 to 1 people of sheep to people in Wales. So, you know, it's not without, you know... so it's not without reason, sort of thing. But yeah, it became this sort of caricature land of like harps and male voice choirs, and you know that is still like a sort of intrinsic part of the culture and that. But
it's not the whole picture, right?
Yeah, but for like if you read in The Enemy or something like that, you're thinking, my God, you know, what's Wales offering? I suppose by the tail end of the 80s, where the fight back came from, though, which is quite interesting, is the Welsh language scene of the 80s, which is an underground sort of scene. But you've got bands like Dat Bluggy, who were a kind of like a Welsh version of the Fall.
You kind of single them out, don't you, as kind of one of the main catalysts for everything, really. Can you tell us, people that might not know them, can you tell us about them?
So yeah, they're from Carmarthen, which is sort of West Wales way, and it's David R. Edwards and Patricia Morgan, and they were kind of like soulmates. But they produced these really sort of like off-kilter sort of melodies and like kind of like do you know like lyrics like Half Man, Half Biscuit, that sort of thing. That sort of like kind of like John Cooper Clarke-esque sort of like, you know,
kind of ironic. Sort of,
kind of like a hint of aggression to it, but also like a dark humor, and there's a frustration to it, and it's rebelling against Thatcherism, and but what was interesting with Dat Bluggy was that they completely rejected anything to do with Welsh culture. They were like, this, it's all been shit, it's always been shit. We're gonna create our own sort of Welsh culture and like get like a sort of punk DIY sort of ethos to it. And so what you had in Wales then was there was a really healthy sort of fanzine culture based on sort of punk DIY aesthetic. And that's where you see bands like Anne Revan, meaning Disorder, come out with it. And that's Rhys Moyne's band who wrote the foreword to the book.
Oh, okay.
What was it? That's where I thought Rhys was so important to write the foreword. Like, I'd love to have had, like, you know, someone like Nicky Wire or Griff Rhys writing it. But I think Rhys Moyne is so important to what happens later in terms of he was the guy in the 80s when Welsh music was being ignored, going around London, seeing the whites of people's eyes like John Peel and David Quantick and John Robb, and saying you need to listen to this. And there was this like concertina-like effect of Welsh language music being played on BBC Radio 1 to a national audience by Peel. So yeah, I thought he was really key, but also there's two other really key bands, which is Fa Coffee Pawb, which is Griff Rhys's band, with David Ian from who went on to form Super Furry Animals. So yeah, that name, I don't know whether you guys are familiar with this group, but the name actually, Fa Coffee Pawb is such a strange name, but phonetically it sounds like it. I'm not explaining this very well. It translates literally as everybody's coffee beans, right? Which means absolutely nothing. But if you phonetically say it in Welsh, it sounds like it's saying "fuck off, everybody." Fuck off, pal.
Right.
I was going to say.
It sounds like you were saying it.
It did sound like it had a rude connotation.
Yeah. And then a Kirv as well, which is Mark Roberts and Paul Jones, who would go on to form Catatonia, who were number one success in the 90s.
Yeah.
So the 90s boom is based very much on that Welsh language underground scene in the 80s.
My only knowledge before reading your book was do you know those Welsh rare beat records that came out in the mid 2000s?
Andy Votel,
first one here. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, is that like a good representation of what's this? It is 70s rather than 80s, but is that a good?
Yeah, I mean, Andy Votel, who's the compiler of that, is very big mate of Griff Rhys. So I think with
Griff Rhys is part of it as well. I think,
it was always going to be a good representation. But it's interesting. Like, so by the end of the 80s, you found that although those Welsh bands were making waves going into the sort of new decade, they were coming to a sort of point of like an impasse where they were performing to the same audiences all the time, because with the Welsh language, it's you know, I think it's only about 1 million speakers worldwide. You know, it's only a fifth of Wales speak Welsh even today, so it's a real minority language. So they found that they were headlining the odd festival, but there was still that sort of like, we want to be bigger, you
plateau.
know? And what's different between the Welsh artists of the 80s? Their sort of ambition was maybe to get played by Peel on the radio. The Welsh language artists of the 90s are like, well, we want to be on magazine covers of the UK wide now. So they had a different sort of ambition. But at the same time, in the early 90s in Wales, you've got still sort of you see her a lot when the Manics break through. There's so many clunky cliches and headlines about Welshness that, you know, sort of permeate every bit of coverage they had, you know.
When you were doing your research, when you're kind of going back into those kind of magazine archives and stuff, was there any like real fucking clangers where you were like, I can't believe they said they wrote that?
Well, it's quite funny. I found a Nicky Wire interview where he talks about it, and he says, like, you know, pretty much if you put any other sort of, you know, ethnic sort of group to it, it would never ever be tolerated even back then. It was kind of like considered like funny. I mean, I suppose some of them are quite funny. You know, I'm not, you know, completely sort of lacking in any sort of sense of humor about it. Like, you know, stuff like Sexy Motherfuckers, I thought was pretty good, really.
Yes, that's good.
And also, it didn't matter whether they were accurate. So, like, there's a headline the Manics had called "Gang Bangers," you know, as in like Bangor in North Wales. And it's like, we live closer to London than Bangor, you know. It's
right.
But you had a lot of things of resistance from A&R men to come over this side of the Severn Bridge. You know, it was considered too far and not worth the journey. And, you had like Welsh you had Welsh bands going over to Bristol to get their records posted out with English postmark, which is incredible, really, when you think, my God, although it's 30 odd years ago, in terms of history, that's not that long ago. And you think,
no. Well, for us, it seems like yesterday, but yeah,
exactly, bands who work with Gorwell Owen, who's the Super Furry Animals producer, he was saying if they were based in North Wales, they would play on the idea they were from Liverpool to get more coverage.
Right.
You know, Greg Haver, who I interviewed, who worked with the Manics quite extensively, was saying, you know, if you saw an A&R man in Cardiff back in the early 90s, you'd throw up the bunting because it was that such like a rare sight.
Right. And I mean, the Manics, they were one of the first bands, right, to come through at the start of the 90s. I mean, they kind of distanced themselves though from the Welsh thing a bit, didn't they?
I think they kind of had to, though, really, because I mean, they were so outrageous for a start that they were kind of getting laughed at anyway. So to say if they were waving the Welsh flag as well, I think they'd have just been like ruined, you know.
Right.
So the timing of them coming through,
It's less embarrassing to have a polka dot feather boa than a Welsh flag, basically.
The thing is that they had such balls as well. Like
they did.
They went to like I think they had a gig in London, and they filmed the video for Slash and Burn in their sort of outfits, their mascara and their leopard print. But then they went to see like QPR versus Wimbledon, like in the you know, who was stood in the crowd.
Yeah.
And like, you know, football wasn't as like kind of like sanitized and family friendly back then.
Oh,
you know?
God, no.
Yeah. So
they go.
So yeah, I think with the Manics, what was different with them is that they completely eschewed anything Welsh. So there's nothing, unless you know that they're from Wales as a fact, there's nothing to really suggest they're Welsh in their early days. So you can't hear it in James Dean Bradfield's singing voice, which you can later in his career. If you look at the cover of Generation Terrace, it could be like an album by Motley Crue or Faith No More. Or something. It's very sort of American FM rock, you know. The influences back then were very much Guns N' Roses and hair metal bands and that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting then when they make that leap a few years later where they've got the Welsh Dragon on their amps, you know.
I saw them in Tokyo not too long ago, and they had the flag draped over.
I know some of the Welsh bands. I know like Gorky's were like, what are they doing? You know, why are they waving the flag? You know, because some people just are against flag waving full stop. You know,
sure.
Yeah.
And also, like after they've said stuff like, you know, Richie Edwards said, you know, the Welsh language is dead culture, and you know, they would say stuff like, you know, if Blackwood was a museum, it would just be full of rubble and shit. You know, that was the only items you could put in it. You know, but it strikes me very much as well as like. It's the youthful abandon of a young band breaking through. It's like Oasis, you know, they just wanted to get away from burnage and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's sound bites aren't there as well.
But I mean, were they popular in Wales? And you talk in your book about, you know, basically Wales was kind of stuck in, you know, 70s, 80s pub rock, and people didn't like to deviate from it. And then you come and these outrageously dressed kind of guys with Slash and Burn, you know, the past. I mean, were they more popular in England than in Wales?
I think they just completely divided opinion, really. I mean, bear in mind when I was 6 years old when Generation Terrace came out in '92, you know, so I wasn't, you know, I wasn't there. Like,
it's not as old as us. He's not as old.
He's not old as okay.
But you know, what I would say is, like, in some ways they did fit in terms of there's always been a reputation for heavy rock music in the South Wales valleys, and it goes with the sort of territory of there's this theory of where you have heavily industrialized areas, you have heavy music. You know, it's a continuation of the
Birmingham
week that you're banging away on instruments at the weekend, and you know it's. So yeah, they did fit in that respect, and it was on the tail end of that heavy rock era of the late '80s as well. What I would say probably alienated people more back then was the androgynous sort of aspect of them. You know, I think it's sort of you know, we're not living in such sort of liberal times as now, where you know, you'd have Nicky Wire often being shouted like Pufter and stuff like that. And like they did this gig at the Heineken Festival in Swansea, where you know, this is in their homeland and they're getting sort of bottled off and that sort of thing. Yeah. But I think they fed on that energy in their early days. That was a crucial part of their sort of early DNA. You know, it's like You Love Us, the song, you know, it's no matter how much you hate us, you actually love us really, or you'll love us in the end sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think they caught a lot of that, for sure.
Yeah, and like, you know, they would be cancelled in no time today, you know, like you know, if you think of like I mean, some of it was hilarious. Like some of it, I think that their sense of humor was underestimated. Like the stuff like, you know, we'll always hate Slow Dive more than we'll always hate Slow Dive more than we hate Adolf Hitler. You know, it's that ridiculous. You can't have stuff like the Michael Stipe comment, though. You think, my God, they would be cancelled. You know the Michael Stipe comment with
what's that?
With Nicky Webb. So it was at the Kilburn National I think it was their Christmas gig in '92. And Nicky Wire says, as he's introducing a song. It was to introduce Patrick Bateman, actually, which was the protagonist in American Psycho.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But so that book was huge at the time, and the chorus. If you've never listened to the song Patrick Bateman, I urge your listeners to go. And
I
listen
don't think
to
I
that
do
song,
know it. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. The lyrics to the chorus are pretty out there. But yeah, he said in the season of Goodwill, let's hope that Freddie Mercury goes this. That Michael Stipe goes the same way as Freddie Mercury pretty soon. And this is the height of the sort of panic over AIDS and that sort of thing. Yeah. So you think, gee, so like there's being sort of provocative, and there's just being sort of
that's crossing the line, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that was a turning point in terms of they were less sort of. I interviewed Nicky Wire a few years ago. I think it was around the time of their 30th anniversary as a band, and I said, what would you say to the 15, 16-year-old Nicky Wire? And he said, just stop being such a gobshite, And he's such a sort of mellow sort of bloke now, like
he is, he does come across.
They are 30 years into their career. You can't be acting like that in your 15. That is one criticism that I find difficult when people say, perhaps it's like dad rock now. It's like, well, what do you want them to be? Do you want them still being slogans and like
exactly,
shouting?
Yeah.
So although
clavers on top of the pops,
I mean, although I would argue, that they're well past their peak, in terms of, I mean that in the nicest possible sense as well. Like their peak was the 90s. That run from Holy Bible to This Is My Truth was their undoubted peak. But and they're not as essential as they are anymore. But what band 4 years into their career is going to be as essential as they once were in their prime? I mean, I think they're still producing good records, but the album that came out like last month didn't particularly excite me, really, if I'm entirely honest. I find the last three albums are mine in the same sort of vein, if you get what I mean. And also as well, like in terms of sonics, like they, like Dave Ehringer, the producer they've worked with since the start, really. I think he produced Gold Against Their Soul, the second album. And they just worked with him for so long now. You just wonder whether it's the same sonic.
Right, they're trying to tread in more. Yeah.
Stereophonics.
I think Journal for Plague Lovers is probably the best thing they've done in the last year. That's from Richie's words, I guess.
I think that's where they've had such longevity as a band, in terms of they've had this interesting career trajectory where it was up until a few years ago, we'll do the anthemic sort of album, and then we'll do a more indulgent album, then we'll do an anthemic one, and you kind of like appease both camps there. But I would say their most interesting album in recent years is Journal for Plague Lovers, and then they did have that sort of curveball with Rewind the Film and Futurology as well. But since then I find it I find it a bit of a muchness at the moment. I
think I agree. Can we talk about Super Furries? I know they had, like you said, they had a long gestation in other bands. When I was thinking, I saw them on Saturday morning TV show. It's Not Just Saturday. They played God Show Me Magic on there, and I immediately got the bus into town and bought the CD single. How did they get on that kind of that mainstream success reasonably quickly, right? They were really fucking weird band, right?
Yeah. So it's again, it goes back to they started off in a range of Welsh bands. So there's Fa Coffee Pawb, there's another band called Utant, there's another band called Edric Am Julia, another band called Ooze. So they all came together from different sort of Welsh language bands in the 80s, but they all shared this ambition, And in their very early days, Rhys Ifans was the singer. It was only in lockdown that they released on Bandcamp the very first song out of the archive that they ever recorded, which is a song called No Fixed Identity, which had Rhys Ifans on vocals. But yeah, I think with Super Furries, they were perfectly timed in terms of the Manics had come through a year or two before, but also they're on the same wave as Catatonia and Gorky's coming through at the same time. But also as well, a huge thing for the Furries is that they're on Creation, so they had money to throw around because of Oasis, really.
Right.
So they would do mental stuff like instead of spending money on like advertising and marketing, they would just go out and buy a tank, you know.
I was going to say
Remember it
about
well.
the tank.
And
Remember
they
it
drove,
well.
they drove into the Eisteddfod in this, you know, and like we're driving to
Yeah.
festival. And like if you think about it, it's genius because it gets so many more column inches than any sort of ad would, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And they had this real sort of idiosyncrasy and sort of eccentricity to them. So like they was the sort of folklore behind, I don't know whether it's entirely true, is that I think it was only their second ever gig outside Wales at the Camden Monarch in London. And Alan McGee was there. And he said to them afterwards, like, "Oh, I'll sign you if you sing in English." And they were like, "We were singing in English, you know. Their accents were that thick, you know." Yeah.
Oh man, they are. I mean, I've bored everyone with my story, but I met Gruff Rhys just once in '98 at a Mogwai gig in Bristol, and I literally couldn't understand a word he was saying. I mean, I'm sure he was stoned or whatever, but yeah, he's very thick. Yeah,
he's a lovely guy, but very, very slow and measured way of talking as well.
Yes.
But yeah, Super Furries, I think, are one of the greatest bands, full stop, of the last 30 years. You know, I think they're just this endlessly inventive sort of ball of like this alchemy to them, you know, of the five members knotting together. But also as well, like I think Griff Rhys is the real sort of talent of that era as well. I know you guys must have read John Harris's book, The Last Party, the Britpop.
Britpop,
amazing book. But he makes the claim that Damon Albarn is the biggest creative talent of that era in terms of like his segues into sort of Gorillaz and the Good, the Bad, and the Queen.
And the Marley music and stuff. Yeah.
But I think Griff Rhys, you can make the same argument for Griff Rhys in Welsh music. I think James Dean Bradford's the best frontman of that era by far.
Okay.
I think he's still a tour de force on stage, James Dean Bradford. But yeah, I think Griff is the real creative talent of that era.
Interesting.
Yeah.
James Dean Bradford better than Liam Gallagher as a frontman?
Oh God. It depends what you want from your frontman, really. Like in terms of,
I guess they're very different.
I mean, he's very static, isn't he, Liam? But he's got that such iconic sort of, you know, stance as well. You know,
he does.
You know, and he can command a. You know, like I found his solo gigs so much more exciting than Noel's. You know, different.
Well, that's why
different.
I think that's why Noel's reformed Oasis, because he's realised that. Pretty much what's happened.
I mean, I love them both, but I did find some of Noel's concerts could be a bit plodding, you know. Whereas that really early essence of Oasis, I think, in Liam's. And you see the kids there, like, you see kids there about 15, 16 years old, you know, loving it, you know. So I think they have, I think apart from maybe Arctic Monkeys, I think they're the band that have really sort of, you know, attracted generational support now. You know?
That's true.
I don't think even like with Blur and Pulp, you see kids at their concerts, you know, that since they've reformed, you know, with Oasis, there seems to be a real. What did Noel call them? The park? Is it the Parker Monkeys or something he called them?
Okay.
Yeah, just rocking there. But
you mentioned the Cool Cymru tag earlier. Yes. I mean, when did that start? And what did people think about it at the time? Did people welcome it, or did they think it was just bullshit?
It's quite funny actually, because on the book tour that I've gone on to accompany this, I say Cool Cymru, and you can see sometimes people wincing in the crowd, you know, like sort of like
is it in Wales?
In Wales.
Okay.
I think it is a bit naff, the term. I suppose it's alliterative, which I like, but it's a marketing term. Do you know what I mean? And there's always going to be a pushback amongst musicians and creatives to anything that's coined by the press, really. You saw the same sort of you know, rebuttal of Britpop as a term as well, you know. I suppose with Britpop you got a lot more of entanglement with the Union Jack and all that sort of thing, which you maybe didn't have quite so much in Wales. But I think what I would say is the likes of like Nicky Wire and Griff Rhys and Kelly Jones, they're not crying about the fact that it's called Cool Cymru. They're loving, you know, the money that it made them, you know.
Sure.
And, you know, Rhys Moyne makes the point in the foreword that, you know, it's better to be Cool Cymru than Uncool Cymru, you know.
That's true.
Exactly. If you've got this term that, okay, maybe these bands haven't got that much in common, but if you've got this collective term that will help them sell records and put on huge gigs, then that's a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was coined by the Western Mail, the national newspaper in Wales, and the national media jumped on it then. But yeah, yeah, like it's still got that. I know like a lot of people in Wales hate the term, and it was at the end of one of the book talks I did. This guy, you know, when they do the questions at the end, he was like, "Oh, I saw this was to do with Cool Cymru, and I thought the book was going to be really shit, but it's actually good." And I was like, "Oh, you know, that's all right then." So it has still got that sort of connotation of Cool Cymru, but if you think of it as an era and a decade in Wales, it's incredible. Like, and that's where the name of the book come from as well, in terms of like, you know, just over 10, yeah, just in 10 years, you've got Wales being laughed at to, by the end of the decade, you know, Cerys Matthews singing "Every Day When I Wake Up, Well, I Thank the Lord" in Welsh, which, okay, there's a heavy dose of irony in that, you know, they don't really mean that, but they would have been laughed out of town if they'd released that even a few years before, you know, so it was indicative of that shift in confidence of the nation, you know, in music, culture, politics, sport, everything, you know, language. And yeah, the book is titled more after the song than the album, but obviously the album was #1 as well. So
yeah,
I thought it was such a great time.
When she sang that, did people see that as like a, you know, a point of pride, and did people take it in that way?
Divisive again, really. I think some people maybe thought it was a bit naff. Other people loved it and thought it was tongue in cheek. You know, it's soundtracked everything as well. So sports montages, you know, anything particularly Welsh, it was always that song that was played, you know. So you can get it when it becomes a little bit of a caricature on itself. Like, oh God, they're bringing this song on again, or you know, it's a little bit like I suppose like Tom Jones to an extent with the Welsh, his connection to Welsh rugby can be a bit like, oh geez, are they going to sing Delilah again, that sort of thing. But but yeah, so you've got to be careful it doesn't become sort of overwhelming. But I thought as a tongue-in-cheek thing, it was great because like the Welsh language verses are quite ironic, and they're taking the mick out of Welsh, like outdated ideas of Welsh culture. So it says like, you know, I woke up to the true paradise of Rill, you know, and stuff like that. And, no offense to anyone from Rill listening.
No.
It wasn't me who wrote the song. And yeah, and like the opening lines is like, "Wake up, sleepy Wales, land of song." So it's sort of like having a poke at sort of Welsh culture, really. So I don't think you can really construe the lyrics of the song anything other than sort of a bit tongue in cheek, really. Yeah.
Sure.
But also, I like the idea of it's sort of exporting music to the world. That's what I liked with the title as well. That, you know, that's why I've got
international. Yeah.
So I think on the cover there's a mix of sort of iconic and obscure gigs. So there's some overseas, like the Super Furry Animals are in Tokyo, the Manics are in New York. You've got the Darling Buds in Hollywood. So I wanted to get that real international sort of vibe, but it was making waves beyond Wales. Yeah.
You kind of put like, you pick kind of Cool Cymru against Britpop, but I mean, was there really a separation of it? Like, I think Stereophonic, 60-Foot Dolls, Catatonic, to me they were just Britpop. I don't think I even thought much about their Welshness at the time. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I don't really think there was like a, you know, in the book I've said like, you know, two movements go head to head, but it was more just, it was such an interesting way to sort of juxtapose two movements go on exactly the same time. So yeah, if you think like really Britpop, I suppose, was kind of over to an extent. So I always think of Britpop being maybe 93 to 97. Is that about right?
Really? Okay, yeah.
Maybe 92, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
With the peak years probably being 94, 95. So you've got definitely maybe in Park Life, and then you've got the battle for #1.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas if you think like with Cool Cymru, the successes are from 1996 onwards. So you've got Everything Was Go with the Manics after the disappearance of Richie Edwards. You've got Fuzzy Logic, some fans released on the same day, which is mad. Then you've got Word Gets Around with the Stereophonics. You've got the #1s with Catatonia. You've got the huge gigs, you know. So Cool. I would say Britpop peak years are about 94, 95, whereas Cool Cymru is probably about 96, 97, so maybe the end of the decade. Yeah.
Sure.
Probably had a little Well, I
Bit of
suppose.
an
I mean,
overlap,
like,
probably.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
suppose really Britpop
Yeah.
goes on for about 5 years, really, doesn't it? I suppose so. It's about the same. Yeah,
Just about. Yeah. Well, the Manics played at Nebworth, so they were they were part of it, right?
They're the only band who did the support on both nights, apparently.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you guys? Did you guys go to Nebworth?
Yeah, I did.
Oh man, what was it like?
I needed a piss the whole time. Apart from that, it was pretty good. I think
That was
massive.
good.
I can't really remember. It was good.
It's amazing. Well, except for the fact that the Prodigy blew everyone off the stage, basically.
Oh, I didn't go to the
heard
Prodigy one, but
yeah. It was good.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good to. It's a good thing to say you were there, and it was good, but it was just massive.
Yeah, you guys going to the Oasis gigs in the summer now?
No,
I don't.
Fuck
I'm
that,
not
man.
sure
Let's
about
take.
it.
Before are you going?
Yeah.
Are you gonna go?
I'm going to the Millennium Stadium one. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You can't slag it off.
Did you get fucked over by that dynamic pricing?
So luckily, I was kind of like quite relaxed with my ticket buying because James, the guy who I do the podcast with, got in on the pre-sale link and bought a VIP the previous night. So I knew that when I was trying to get more tickets for like friends, I was in anyway. But I had I think I queued for like 8. I think I got queued for 8 hours and was never allocated a place in the actual queue.
Oh wow!
So I just left the laptop ticking over all day and never got allocated a place. And the dynamic pricing thing is a disgrace.
It's just outrageous, isn't it? Yeah.
But I guess you wouldn't have seen Oasis the first time round then, were you? Because you're a little bit younger.
So the first gig I ever went to was December 2002, which was Oasis on the Heathen Chemistry tour in Cardiff.
That's when they were shit, though. They were shit.
What I would say though, they looked cooler as a band. I mean, you didn't have.
That's true. That's completely true.
They did look.
We talk about this a lot. We talk about this a lot. Yeah.
I mean,
but that's when the music got worse.
The music goes.
The music got worse.
I mean, if you look at the pictures of early Oasis with their massive coats on, they look so unfashionable in that.
They're terrible.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take Liam out of the band, what are you left with, really? Bunch
of roadies.
I like Bonehead, but Grigsy's never looked cool, has he? Bless him,
No.
He's always looked a little bit out of place and a bit uncomfortable, really.
I think he himself would admit that. I don't think he was ever really comfortable doing it. I think that's why.
Yeah. Well, it's like with the Manics, they always look so cool, but like Sean Moore, the drummer, just looks so sort of uncomfortable.
He looks really cool now, though, doesn't he?
Exactly. He's got a big beard. He looks good, man.
Why didn't he do that before? He looks much better with a beard.
That first gig was when Liam got his teeth knocked out. I don't know if you remember that, when he had that brawl in
I do remember
Munich.
That,
I do remember
about it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I saw the Manics the week after on their greatest hits. So it does feel odd in a way that like writing a book in the 90s, and I was that tiny bit too young for the gigs in the 90s. I remember them all happening. I remember being quite interested in it all, but like it didn't become an obsession until I was about 15, 16, just after the millennium. I was 16, 2002. Yeah.
So were Oasis were they your band when you were a teenager? Is that what you?
Yeah. So Oasis were my sort of first love, really. I still kind of I know, like, I don't know how sort of cool they are now, really, in terms of obviously there was that huge rush for tickets
like Shakin' Stevens for me. Yeah.
But I still love Oasis. I think definitely maybe in Morning Glory are essential. I think the Master Plan is essential. And I think the singles are really strong throughout all the rest of their albums as well. I love bits of their albums from that, but then I do love Be Here Now as well. I know that's
my favorite album. My favorite.
Oh right, jeez. Magic Pie is awful. It's just
I like it.
It's just too long. I know it was where they were. It's quite funny, like in terms of like I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember who it was, but it said the line like Be Here Now is obsessed with cocaine, but there's nothing quick and speedy about that album at all.
Right.
Yeah.
It just goes on forever,
Yeah, it's the epitome of self-indulgent.
Were you in any bands as a teenager?
No, I've got guitars and that. I can play a little bit myself, but I've just never ever sort of been that good or confident enough to play live music. I don't know why. I'm a typical bloke. I can't do two things at once, so I can't sing and play a guitar at the same time.
No, not possible.
It's
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah,
it is
especially
hard,
to play lead guitar like James Dean Bradfield. I don't know how he does that. That's just seems mad.
I mean, like I could watch someone who's good on the guitar or a good drummer all day, but it's intimidating as well. Like in terms of, like, you think, oh, I'll never be as good as that. You know, like I think you've got to have a natural talent in some of these things. You know, like James Dean Bradfield like mastered Appetite for Destruction in a week when he was like 16, 17. You know, like I'll never be that. You know.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, never been in bands. Yeah.
All right. Let's getting back to fake scenes invented by the media. Was Newport really the new Seattle?
No, not really.
No.
Next
question.
I know that sounds I'm being very dismissive, but like, you know, that Seattle scene in America was world renowned. You know, it was huge. You know, like with Soundgarden and Mudhoney and Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Yeah, they Seattle.
Pearl Jam. Yeah.
But I mean, what I would say with Newport, it was very much an underground scene. So you didn't have big crowds, but there was that. What was the same was you had that energy, that real sort of lo-fi, maybe sort of hardcore stuff. And what you had in Newport was, I think, with what way Newport became big in the 90s is they had the bands that Cardiff didn't want, you know, and Swansea didn't want. So they weren't really part of the scene. So it's just where you see bands like Steve Albini's Big Black like playing there. So they're not they're a bit more niche and a bit cooler to go to Newport. And then
you've got Newport TJs, right? Yeah.
So it like there was the Newport Centre, which has been demolished in recent years. So they had bands like the Butthole Surfers who almost burnt the place down, lighting up Surgical Spirits. But the TJ's was this tiny place. It was a bit of a hole, really, run by. Well, yeah, exactly, yeah, and like, you know, the toilets were obscene, and they had like this tiny.
You should go to Dublin Castle. The toilets still are obscene. I went there the other week.
But you've got like bands then like 60 Foot Dolls and Dub Bore and Fly Screen and Novocaine, and they're just too loud to fit into any sort of scene, really. So. They're not particularly Britpop. They're not Cool Cymru, and there's this sense to Newport of being sort of a sense of otherness about it. So I don't think it was a city at the time either. So if you think, I interviewed Richard Parfitt for the book, who's the singer of 60 Foot Dolls, and he said there's a real sense of otherness about Newport, especially in the 90s. So there wasn't much Welsh spoken there, so it didn't feel particularly Welsh. It definitely wasn't English. But it was the first place you'd encounter coming over the Severn Bridge from England. It's the last place that you go from Wales to go over the Severn Bridge. So it did have like this detachment from the rest of the country, really. But I think what you have then is a real sort of thriving scene that's different to anywhere else, you know. And then they've got the stories, like the Kurt Cobain story is mad in the story, in the book, sorry. Where he
don't give it away. Don't give it away. People have to read the book to find out. Don't give it away.
This must be a quite well-known story, I'm sure.
maybe.
It was. He'd come to see Hole, a Courtney Love's band, and it was on it was quite a cool lineup. So it was Therapy as well, the Northern Irish band.
Love Therapy.
Great, and Daisy Chainsaw. So you can see the type of bands that Newport was attracted. Do you know what I mean? And Simon Phillips, who was running this night called Cheap Sweaty Fun in Newport, tried to charge Kurt Cobain £3 to come in, not realizing it was him. And then he sweeps his fringe out of his face, and then the penny drops. He's like, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah, going in." But like, this is like post Nevermind as well, and he's just at the back, just being relatively unbothered, and you're like, "What?" You know, like, you imagine that now, you know? So there's great stories when you put like there's a band called the Cowboy Killers who had a pretty sort of ferocious front man. They were like a Welsh sort of Dead Kennedy sort of sound, and he let a very young Green Day sleep on the floor in his house at Christmas, probably about 91, and they weren't really known in the UK at the time. And he had work in the morning, and they were just messing around downstairs, and all of a sudden he comes downstairs with a machete and just like sort of threatens them all to be quiet. And they bumped into each other years later, and they were like, "Oh, you're right." And he's like, "Oh, you guys are all right since," you know. So yeah, like, I do really love the Newport chapter book, and I thought,
me too. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
And
I was also
Donna,
go on.
and Donna Matthews from Elastica, from
of
Newport,
course.
yeah. So she was going out with Mike Cole from the 60 Foot Dolls. Lived above TJ's actually. Donna did, yeah.
Really? Above
Yeah,
TJ's,
yeah.
Right.
But she was in an early incarnation of the Dolls, and then she went to London to join Elastica. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I also wanted to mention, because I was really pleased to got to mention the this Dial M for Merthyr.
Oh yes,
he just likes getting his records out.
Oh fuck. The Fierce Panda and Town Hill Records. You said it's kind of hit and miss. You in the book.
Yeah.
What are some bands from it that maybe people don't know that they should know? If you can remember.
Oh right, okay. Let me think now. There's some real, like, I was going to say bangers then, but then I recoiled. There's some pretty good.
It's a good word, man.
Bangers is fine. We use it.
Okay.
It's great.
Yeah, there's some bangers on there. So there's some real, like, hidden gems on there. So there's a song by a Newport artist called Armstrong on there. That's a Nina Worm. There's another song by a band called Dog Day Afternoons. I can't think what it's called now. Birds and
City at Night. City at Night.
There's a song on there. Is there a song on there called Birds and Trees and Flowers or something like that?
Yes, the Jonah Hex.
Yeah, that's it, the Jonah Hex. But what you found with some of these bands was that was the height of their fame. They never really did anything apart from appear on that. So it's quite a good time capsule. But what you found as well is as Welsh confidence grew throughout the 90s, you get these real sort of self-referential moments like Dial M for Merthyr, and you've got like Stereophonics putting a tiny Welsh mining village in Cwmaman on the map, with all sort of true life tales of where they live. You've got Gorky's Psychotic Monkey released an album called Barafundle, which is their local beach. Donna Lewis, I don't know if you remember Donna Lewis, the song I Love You Always Forever.
Of course.
Everywhere. Yeah. And she released an album called Now in a Minute, which is a real sort of Welsh sort of colloquialism, I'll get it now in a minute. It doesn't make sense, but yeah, it's said pretty much every day in Wales, yeah.
All right. Can you talk a bit about the Stereophonics is As Long As We Beat the English controversy?
Oh God, right. So so this is 1999. The controversy surrounds their gig at Morpher Stadium, which is now the Liberty Stadium where Swansea City play. And in front of 50,000 in July 99, Kelly comes on for the encore solo and sings this song acoustically on his own. And he'd been commissioned to write this song for an advertising campaign for BBC Wales to promote the upcoming Five Nations clash, as it was then, between England and Wales. And Wales were playing at Wembley at the time because the Millennium Stadium was being made, and it was the game where Scott Gibbs scores the winner in the last minute. So an iconic moment, really, for Wales. Yeah. And this like try for Scott Gibbs was playing behind him as he's playing this song, and there's a montage of great sort of Welsh tries, not just against England, but again, just great Welsh tries, full stop. Gareth Edwards tries for the Barbarians and British Lions and stuff like that. But the controversy comes then when a reader of the NME wrote into the letters page saying that the patriotic fervour surrounded the gig bordered on fascism. And the headlines...
A bit strong, but yeah, go on.
and the headline, I think it was James Oldham, who's passed away, unfortunately, in the last year or so. He was compiling the letters page that week. And the headline is, it's so 90s and it's over the topness, is Wales the new Germany? Just,
I think that's a bit of a leap, isn't it? But...
yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is like when we've had, some of the headlines that we've had to contend with over the years.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I would say is, the song is a bit cringe, really. It's it kind of like belittles us to be in shit, like reveling in being shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't matter if we're utter shit as long as we beat England.
Right,
it's fine.
Right.
And I would always take losing to England but winning the championship. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, it's I think again it's indicative of that confidence in Wales in the 90s that you had a band kind of prepared to sing that as well, you know.
Sure.
And on the advertising campaign, he's actually busking it on the street in London. So that takes some balls as well, you know.
Sure.
But, yeah, with Stereophonics, I like their early stuff. I know I sound like such a sort of, you know, it's a bit wanky to say like, oh, I'd like to band in their early days and that, but yeah,
that's literally my whole identity.
Yeah, most bands release their best stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just, you know, it's just
so like word gets around, I think is great. I like bits of performance and cocktails, but yeah, I like they've always had this perennial sort of meat and potatoes pub rock sort of tag to them. I think he is a talented songwriter. He's a solid songwriter. He absolutely
and he's got a great voice. He's got a
great he knows his fan base. You know, you think like they're the most commercial byproduct of this whole era. So they've got 8 #1 albums. So they exactly know their audience.
Yeah,
a little bit like
strong,
it's a little bit like with the Manics though, where they're working with the same producer all the time. So sonically they're not changing. But then if they've got that sort of niche where they know exactly what their fans want, you know?
I think they've got comfortable, haven't they? They've got selling enough records doing that they might as well just carry on.
And I loved this, Sam, when they were a 3-piece, because I've got this thing of 3 pieces really locking in tight like 60-foot dolls, and there's so little room for error in their sounds. You've got to really lock in tight, and there's a rawness to that. Like if you listen to some of the early Stereophonics gigs, it sounds quite a lot rawer than the really polished sound now. But I don't know. I think it's missing something from being that polished. And do you go to their gigs now? They've got a walkway into the crowd, and they're doing all the hands. And it's all very choreographed, you know. So
I think when a band introduces a walkway to their
it's all over. It's all over.
That's it.
I mean, it's only since starting the.
Unless you're Mick Jagger or something, you can't get away with that. You can't.
It's only since starting the podcast as well we've realised that people really hate Stereophonics. I mean,
that's a surprise.
I quite like them really, but
I mean, I'm not a massive fan, but I wouldn't say I hate them.
They're all right.
But I mean, like, some of their stuff, like "Local Boy in the Photograph," are brilliant songs, you know. And like I worked. So you're familiar with the Word Gets Around, the debut album, yeah? Yeah. So I worked in the on the local paper there about 10 years after that album came out, and some of the people that referenced in the song were still walking around in the community.
Oh, really?
So the teacher that was at the heart of the scandal with 1,000 trees had been let out of prison. Yeah. And it literally divided the community, where half of the community believed him and the other half didn't, you know. And it was quite cool to have sort of songs just immediately sort of inspired by what was around you, you know.
Yeah. Although you could make way more than 1,000 matches with a single tree. you can make millions.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So the book finishes on a very positive note, the 90s, you know, and Catatonia, which we didn't talk about Catatonia very much.
Catatonia, right.
No. So yeah, go on. So I meant to ask about them.
Yeah, let's give them a fair crack.
Yeah. I think they're really underrated. I know they divide opinion, but I think they had such a sort of. I mean, they were the most kind of like poppy, I suppose.
I think that's what divides opinion. Really, they were massively successful with those.
But I think Mark Roberts is a brilliant songwriter, and you had it delivered by Keris, who was a great frontwoman. You know,
star, right?
Yeah. So you know, beyond like the sort of obvious ones, like. Mulder and Scully and Road Rage, you know, you've got songs like Dead from the Wasteland, which I think is still really good, you know. And like, you know, like to go from, you know, it's an amazing story that like, you know, Akira, the band that 2 of their members are in, had reached that impasse only a few years ago where there was that inertia stopping them from getting big, and they thought, right, we'll go into the English language, and they justified it then by getting 2 #1 albums. You know. Doing huge gigs, supporting like bands like the Rolling Stones at Wembley and stuff like that, you know, huge. Yeah, and it was quite funny actually. I worked with the bassist at St David's Hall, Paul Jones, for about 10 years.
Oh, really?
And he was just such a modest guy. Like it was years before I ever, you know, he ever sort of said to me, "Oh yeah, I was in Catatonia," and then he's only look at all the videos, like, "Oh my god, there's it? Yeah, there he is. Yeah." But yeah, like I think it's such a shame because I don't think they'll ever get back together. I don't think Gorky's ever will really. Super Furries. I mean, Griff is doing such great work solo. I mean, they did do those gigs a few years ago, didn't they? But I'd love to have another Super Furries album. I think they would still have it as well. You know, like some bands.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, they've missed their moment. They're not the same afterwards. I think Super Furries would just start like it never finished, sort of thing. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
It's quite funny as well. I think one of their members was like, "Oh, we got to reform at some point because our legacy is Bing Bong," which is a song that they released for when Wales got to the Euros in 2016. But it's not the best. Like,
sure.
It's kind of a bit of an anomaly in their back catalogue, I think. Yeah.
So the book finishes at the end of the 90s. So in 60 seconds or less, what's happened in the last 25 years?
Oh, geez, right.
You don't have to do it in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I kind of got the itch. I don't know whether I will, but I've kind of got the itch to do a follow up for
that's great.
21st century. I don't know whether I will, but because you could sort of compartmentalize it so much into a time capsule of the 90s, but it may be a bit more of a tall order doing it over 30 years. But you've got like I think what you see in Wales now is that the Welsh artists have got a real confidence about them in terms of they haven't got the to contend with any sort of headlines or have any sort of uncomfortableness about their Welsh identity. You know, they'll sing in their Welsh language if they want. So you've got bands like Adwaith. I don't know whether you've heard of them. So they're a girl group from Carmarthen, where that bloody were from. Won the Welsh Music Prize with their first two albums. Getting so critical acclaim from the likes of The Guardian. So it's kind of reaching that sort of UK audience again, you know. You've got bands as well. You've got artists like Gwenor who records trilingually. So it's like another sort of evolution again. So she records in Cornish as well. You've got Skindred who sort of evolved from Dubbo, they were the first Welsh act to win a Robo last year,
Is that right?
and they've gone huge, you know, headline huge festivals. You've got like a really like cool acts as well, like Kate Le Bon, the Anchoress,
of course,
and you can see like you know, with both of those artists, you can see the Super Furries and the Manic sort of influence on their music. So what you've got there is that you've kind of got a comfortable sort of embracing of the past and sort of like a rebranding for the sort of future sort of thing. I mean, there's a huge difference now, unfortunately, for us, is that they don't sell anywhere near what they were in the 90s. You know?
Well, no one does, but
So that's the real sort of crying shame, is that you've got real creative talents, not just in Wales, but across everywhere, I suppose, where you aren't getting, you know, the monetary recognition for their talents and that, you know. But yeah, I think it's exciting times now in Wales. You've got a crop of really exciting bands coming through again. I don't think we'll ever see the same boom that we did in the 90s. It's that perfect sort of time capsule if it's kind of pre-internet, really. The internet hasn't really boomed.
Probably.
You know, there was still that sort of mystique to artists where you had to buy the weeklies or you had to buy their albums to know what they're up to, whereas you just go on Wikipedia and stream them now. So it's a different time. Like, you know, that's what I loved about, you know, I thought it was really important to get the iconic gigs in the book as well, because none of them are a view to a camera phone, you know. So it's kind of like what Noel Gallagher says about Nebworth. It's the last mass gathering of people before the
completely
boom. So
it really was.
There's a real sort of I love nostalgia. It's one of my favorite things anyway. But yeah, to go back to like when I was
welcome to the podcast.
When I was young. Exactly. I'm talking to kindred spirits here.
Yeah. We've got one final question, if that's okay. Because we've kept you a very long time. Neil, would you do the honours?
Yeah. So we asked everyone that comes on our podcast the same question: which band from the 90s would you have liked to have been in, and why?
Jeez. Yeah, I probably would go with early Manics.
Good one.
Just because they've got such a great sort of look, and I mean, like if you look at that too. If you look at their early aesthetic, it goes from the sort of stencils and sort of Clash
Yes.
copyists.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
then it goes to the sort of like glam era. Then
Yeah.
it goes with Generation Terrorist. Then it goes to what's it called? Like the Brat Pack sort of feel with Gold Against Salt. And then there's the military then with the Holy Bible. And this is all
Yeah.
within like 2-3 years, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, there was such creativity to their aesthetic as well as their music, you know. So I thought that was such a cool thing. You know, as much as I love the Super Furries, I think that's why they were sort of like lumped in with the whole Britpop thing in terms of they just wore like Cugawals and sort of combats, you know, so they looked like any other Britpop band. Obviously, there's something so different about them. But yeah, I think it would be that sort of early Manics all the way up until Everything Was Go, really. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
All right, that's a good answer.
answer.
All right.
Yeah,
Where can people buy your book and keep up with everything you're doing?
Yes, so I'm on. It's not. What's it called now? Not Twitter now, is it? It's X, isn't it? I know there's a mass exodus from there.
Get off
Call it
that.
what you want.
Get off
Yeah.
that place.
I haven't migrated to Blue Sky yet. Is it much better over there? Or
We prefer
well,
it.
It's still sort of growing, but
because I went on
we
Threads.
just hated on us.
I thought Threads was awful. But yeah, I'm Neil
I don't
Collins
know how it
86
works,
on Twitter and Instagram. So where can you buy the book? You can get it in all the usual places, really. Amazon, WH Smith, Waterstones, from the University of Wales Press Direct. But yeah, Neil Collins 86 is where you can find out whether I'm going to do a follow-up and any talks. I've got a talk in Newport actually coming up, so that's next Saturday. Yeah,
This is going to confuse everyone because on mine it says Neil Collins, and then you've just got Neil on your.
There you go.
name thing on your thing.
All right. Well, thank you for being so generous with your time, Neil Collins.
Yeah, no
and
problem
we
at all.
appreciate you coming on. We're going to stop the recording, but don't escape just yet.
Right, so there was Neil Collins, writer of International Velvet. Nice bloke, wasn't he? As always.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Dave's
Yeah,
the
he
judge.
was
He's
really-
the ultimate judge of people, isn't he? Dave?
Who?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Your
No,
decision's
I've-
final.
I've enjoyed that one. He was a really good talker, I thought. Had some
Yeah.
interesting thoughts.
I went to see Dave yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? Day before. And he came in his jogging gear with his earphones. He said, just listening to the podcast. It's like,
Good
Dave's
on him.
he's out jogging all the time. Quite fit these days, aren't you, Dave?
Well, I need to go out more. But yeah, it's a good. I often do my first listen on a
the
jog.
podcast.
Didn't make my park run this week. It's a bit rainy.
Oh, he didn't.
Didn't I did twice around the park instead here, which is just over 4
Right.
kilometres. So
I forgot to.
pretty
We
good.
seem to be doing like another sort of 4-place section in this, but that's all right because I forgot to mention something earlier on about the War of the Worlds thing, right?
Go on.
So it's quite a big old production, right? You'd expected the sort of thing where people have their phones out, right, recording bits,
yeah.
because hardly any phones. And I could see everything from where I was. It's just an age thing, isn't it?
It's probably
we grew
a lot-
up
not
not
allowed.
doing that at gigs. No, you could. You
Mm.
could. There was no reason you couldn't because I got a few clips.
People don't do it over here as well at gigs.
Yeah, it was
Not really.
interesting because
They might do like a quick 20 seconds and then put their phone away and that's it.
that's exactly what I did. And the couple next to me picked up on it. They're like, "There's no one filming here. There's no one doing it." And the people did because I did film a little bit because I wanted to show me mum and dad stuff. But I literally just took a few and
Yeah.
really sort of.
Subtly
Try
done.
not-
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
it should do, man. Yeah, yeah.
But, and I could see the whole arena, and no one was really doing it. Just a little odd bit here and there, but no one
Guess
was
it's the
sitting there the
setting,
whole time
right?
with their phone.
Yeah.
No, I think it's
Maybe-
age thing as well. I think it's just
Maybe
not what
both.
we used to do.
Maybe people realised how pointless it is to pay
Yeah.
that money to go to something and just.
Yeah, but I wonder if
Fans
You
it's,
watch it through your phone. Yeah.
and this isn't a thing on young people because they've been thrown into this whole world. But maybe it's just an age thing. If it was a group of young people there, maybe they would be filming it. I don't know.
I think it's age and setting. It's different from like a rock concert, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I've been to like Shine On, but even there wasn't loads. There wasn't loads
Yeah.
of people filming those
Good.
all the time. Yeah, it is good. I think it is an age thing. It's a shame, isn't it, that it's come to that people go to gigs and watch it through their phones. It's mental, really. Anyway,
Anyway, back to
That's us
Neil.
being
Yeah, he was a
old.
great bloke. I think we kind of made a new friend, right? We were chatting for ages afterwards as well. Good half an hour after we stopped recording, we were chatting, weren't we?
yeah, but there's only one Neil Collins on this show, so we won't be talking to me.
No, there's two. He's Neil Collins. There's two.
It was
Yeah, I
factually
think-
wrong what you said, Neil.
Yeah, I think we made a friend
You might have.
finally.
Yeah, no, he's a really nice guy. Yeah, I spoke to him a few times afterwards by email and stuff. Yeah, he's a nice chap for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll stay in touch. 3 million people in Wales. Is that it?
Yeah,
That's not much, is it? But then I guess relatively, it is much smaller, isn't it, than England?
yeah.
So,
There's only like 5 million in Sweden, right, Dave? 5 or 6 million?
10.
10, is there? Bloody hell.
But it's
It's
still
gone up.
a lot fewer than here. 5 million in Norway, 5 in Denmark.
61,
okay. Maybe I was
got
thinking of
about
Denmark.
4.
61 million here, but that's the UK, isn't it? That's including Wales.
There's about 67, 68 in the UK.
Is there?
Why do you
Yeah.
know this stuff, Dave?
I
Dave
just-
knows
I
his
don't know.
populations.
I don't know. I just know these.
I love
just
that you know,
retain
man.
this kind of information.
Yeah.
What's the
Do you
population
know-
of Tobago?
Tobago, I don't know.
Do you know Japan?
I think it's about 130 million.
It is about that.
3-to-1 sheep ratio in Wales. So that's not just a myth. There are a lot of sheep.
Yeah.
Dave, did you bum a sheep while you were there?
No, I didn't.
Did you date one?
Did you go out with any sheep?
Did you see
No.
a lot of sheep?
Not in Cardiff, but
You
we
were
did
in the
go
city,
out,
weren't you?
go out to the hills. We went mushroom picking a few times.
Shrooms.
Aye, aye.
nice.
Bet you did.
Yeah.
The
Did-
mushrooms are brilliant around Newport and stuff, around those hills.
Mm.
Are they? Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was a good person to get on, but for the book. But Wales was a big part of the whole 90s thing. Like, I remember it. Like it was, you had like not just music as well, but Wales just
No.
seemed to be on the map. You had Catherine Zeta-Jones, Luke, from your favourite, Darling Buds of May. You loved that show.
Oh
don't
my
you?
God. Dave, that's
Brilliant.
Dave's favourite.
Love that.
Oh,
Perfect, wasn't it? Perfect, that show.
Well, I've read all the books.
you dirty bastard.
It's Sunday night,
Even you'd like the books.
sitting down,
I would
Darling
not.
Buds of May, parlarking. Charlotte
Yeah.
Church was around. Tom Jones had a resurgence, didn't he? He always does at most decades, doesn't he? He's still going.
Yeah,
you know,
that was much later.
what I found interesting, you know, I've always going on about my ignorance of how big Scotland were during the
Yeah.
90s. And
Yeah.
of course,
Wales,
they were
yeah.
massive. They've had loads of bands,
You've
but they
forgotten
just
all about
didn't.
Yeah.
Wales.
They didn't market it, did they? Whereas Wales had this
No.
big marketing
At the
thing.
Cool Cymru, right?
And I would
right,
have,
yeah.
if you'd asked me before this podcast, which one had more bands, Scotland or Wales, I'd have thought
Mm.
Wales.
Mm.
But that's not true. But I was
No,
in
but-
Wales as well, so
Yeah, okay, you were
the time.
there in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So
You're
did
in
you
the-
feel
you're in the
that kind of
heart of it.
positivity that he was talking about? Did you feel it?
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Mm.
And
Did
that
you?
song, International Velvet, you know, I remember
Yeah.
Welsh friends really liking it. But you know,
Yeah.
they're not like English thugs waving their England flag. It's a different kind of patriotism, isn't it?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
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 Well, it's the underdog, wasn't it? Really? They were
Exactly.
the
I
underdog.
think that's exactly it. Because I've got a
Yeah.
point here, you know, it's funny how it's different to wave your Welsh flag to your English flag. And it's all
Yeah.
about the relativity
Power.
of it, isn't it? Power.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's about power hierarchies, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shaken Stevens came up again. You nearly
Yes.
pissed yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, not near.
But look, thinking about it, you do look a bit like him, you know. Shaken Stevens.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
If he didn't comb his hair down, if he combed it up instead
I
of
gave
down,
it. I've had a DA.
Out of the three of us, you look most like Shaken Stevens.
I've got the darkest hair. Is what you're saying.
No, you just look like Shaken Stevens.
Oh, I wish I did, man. On the cover of Shaky, he had that kind of pink suit with a black shirt. Oh, it looks so good, man.
I don't want to over flatter Luke, but he looks more like Kelly Jones than Shaking Stevens.
Oh, he does look a bit like Kelly.
Oh man, I used to get that a lot in the 90s.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, just whoever was in the charts that had a vaguely indie look, people used to claim I looked like him.
It's Fonseca, wasn't it? All the way.
Well, that was you. Yeah, that told me that. But again, no, just because he had a slightly indie haircut, anyone with an indie haircut is what I got accused of looking like him.
I'm pretty sure Amy
basically.
started the Dr. Fonseca
She
thing,
did.
to be fair.
My sister, by the way. Listen. Yeah.
But it rung true, didn't it?
A bit.
I hadn't thought of it before. What you were saying about the four massive Welsh artists:
Yeah.
Tommy, Shirley, Shaky, and Bonnie.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I loved a bit of Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh,
She
what a
was good.
song.
It's a banger.
She was huge, wasn't she, in the 80s? She was a powerhouse.
What a voice.
It's so good, isn't it? When that kicks in, that Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh, it's a great song.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Great song.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So you kept mentioning that band, that Bleaky. Is that right? How do you say it?
Bluggy.
That
Yeah.
Bleaky?
I think that's
So I thought,
yeah.
oh, go and have a listen. I do a bit of research at least. So I went and had a listen.
First. Mm.
I'm too busy putting the podcast together.
You do a lot of work. It's true. It's true.
But yeah, I thought they were good. Yeah, it's not something I would probably stick on, but I don't understand the lyrics for a start. Not that that's the most well, it is important, I think. But one of the videos, they're sort of on this railway, under this railway bridge thing.
Yeah. Bridge.
Viaduct.
That's it. Just a bridge, just a railway bridge. I don't know why I got stuck on that. And they're cool, but like you say, they're a bit like the Welsh Fall, right? That's
Yeah.
You're going to be lazy about it. I guess that's a good description, isn't it?
When I was reading the book, I'd put them on in the background. Yeah, it's good though. It's good. It's good stuff.
Did you understand any of it?
Oh, I was going to pretend to say something in Welsh then. No. Dave, can you speak any Welsh?
No.
Can you say the name of that station?
What,
it really annoys me if you
the
can.
longest in the world?
Yeah.
No.
Good. I hate people that can say that.
I mean, I know Cymru.
So do we.
Poppity Ping. Poppity Ping. Do you know that?
Oh, is that like a microwave? Poppity ping.
Yeah.
That's not true, though, is it?
I think it is.
Is that true?
I think
brilliant.
so. That's it. Just know those.
That's what they should be called, Poppity Ping.
It's exactly what it should be called.
You kept trying to force your records in there a couple of times.
Yeah.
Look at me, I've got some Welsh records too. It was all that sort of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, just showing off, basically. Yeah.
But you only had two. I
only have two. Yeah. So not that much to show off, really. That Welsh Rarebit one is really good, though. The only thing I haven't finished doing the mixtape yet, but the Make Stevens track on that, which I just like, it's just like perfect, just joyful pop song. That's going to be the final track on the mixtape. I just love it so much. So yeah,
that's the one with the burnt toast on the front, right?
Yeah. Welsh Rare Beat. See what they did with the title there?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, Dave, explain to him words.
Do you know what a Welsh rarebit is now?
not really. Is it meat?
It's a fancy cheese on toast.
I really didn't know. No, thanks.
And then they've changed a bit to beat.
I get it now. Yeah, the toast thing. Yeah,
'cause it's rare beat.
yeah, all right. This didn't really come up, but it kind of did. He was talking about how A&R people didn't really go to Wales and stuff. Do you think that the reason that a lot of these bands did find some success was because of their proximity to Bristol, which had a thriving scene at that time? So it's not far, is it, to go to?
No, just across the bridge.
Yeah. I don't know. Did that play a part in their success? I don't know. I wasn't there. You were there. Did a lot of Welsh bands come into Bristol?
Yeah, maybe. And like you said, they used to go across the bridge just to post, so it have an English postmark when the demo got to the record company, which is insane, right? In that story that I've told many times about meeting Gruff Rhys from the Super for Animals, he'd come across the bridge from Wales, because that was like the nearest place that Mogwai were playing, So
So I think
but where was it? Creation found the Super Furries. Where was it? And then offered to sign them. That was covered in the interview, right?
Oh, did he say the place where he saw them?
I couldn't remember.
I can't remember.
Confirm or trash Neil's theory.
Right.
Just trash it. And it's probably wrong. It's just a theory. I just think because Bristol's literally over the bridge, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah. I think it helps. Yeah.
And it did
There's
have
a lot going on.
A hugely thriving scene with Portishead and Tricky and Massive Attack and all that stuff going on.
Yeah.
They seem very separate scenes to me.
Yeah, they are. But I guess the industry was focused on Bristol, wasn't it? So I don't know. If you wanted to get discovered and you're a Welsh band, it would have been a good place to go, I would have thought.
Hop across. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It was interesting that he's talked about that the Manics kind of divided opinion in Wales, at least.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting to hear about.
I disagreed with Neil on one thing. I
Mm.
don't think. No, I didn't disagree with him, but I don't. From when I first heard the Manics, I always knew they were Welsh. I don't think they ever tried to sort of hide the fact they were Welsh.
I think I thought always knew as well.
Yeah, maybe I
don't
did,
know.
but I think, but they didn't embrace it. They didn't sing in Welsh, and they kind
No.
of, you know, they said it was a shithole basically.
Yeah.
It was a changing point, right? And the Manics were crucial to that change.
Yeah,
In
Yeah, I think
making
if
Wales a bit cooler when it comes to music. and
if
stuff.
anything, maybe it's different because we're English, but if anything, I thought it made them help make them stand out in the indie scene because they were from Wales.
yeah, they were playing at their kind of working class roots more than their Welsh roots, right? They were like, you know,
Yeah, I guess.
we're
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
mining towns and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I looked up the lyrics to Patrick Bateman, by the way.
Oh, so did I. I've got that on here. That's an amazing song. How comes we've never listened to it before?
It's on Gold Against the Soul. Yeah, I didn't know it either.
Put it on the
Yeah,
playlist.
I guess it's already there. It's already there.
Yeah,
The lyric
yeah.
he's referring to is that I fucked God up the ass.
That's
It's
right.
the lyric from there.
Yeah.
But
It's
also,
not as
then
bad
again, I
as
should
the
have seen the
Stipe
interview.
comment.
No. Or
Maybe
and
he
then
did.
Motown Junk's got the lyric. I laughed. What is it? I laughed when Lennon got shot. Was it? That's on Motown Junk as well, which is great.
I mean, I'm not a Lennon fan. Never have been. But...
Wait, I didn't want him to get shot though.
No. Was that another Nicky Wire lyric?
I guess it must. Yeah, maybe. Or Richie, I guess. Yeah.
The thing is, with that sort of thing, it's a really brave thing to do, isn't it? Because you know you're going to split opinion on it.
It doesn't mean anything anyway. It doesn't mean they didn't like John Lennon, does it?
No. But
No.
just to a John Lennon diehard fan, that will strike an arrow into their heart.
We'll always hate Slow Dive more than Adolf Hitler. It's just so good.
But that Patrick Bateman song is just brilliant.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it? Yeah.
I need to go back and re-listen to that album because
Yeah, me too.
I kind of sort of because it's not my favourite Manics album by a long shot, and I kind of just haven't listened to it for 30 years. So probably should go back and have a re-listen after hearing that.
There's something a little bit innocent about those comments, you know, that horrible comment about Freddie and that, but you can sort of, it's like when young people realise the power of words, they just go get a bit carried away, and then later on he said, "Oh, I wish I hadn't been such a gobshite when I was younger." But,
it's just.
But they did it on purpose, right? Yeah, the whole
it's controversy in it.
The at Glastonbury when Nicky Wire said, "I hope they build a fucking overpass over this shithole."
But you know, to be fair, like
it's funny
when he carved that for real into his arm. That's when that's commitment.
That's commitment.
That's not just something you do on a whim to sit there carving out bits of your arm with a razor blade.
Having said that, it probably was a whim.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
It must have taken a while. Maybe you got halfway through and thought, fuck, I'm going to have to finish.
Oh, yeah, I can't stop now.
I have to finish this now. Yeah.
Because that's got to hurt, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Was it for real or for real?
Good.
It was real.
Nicely
right.
done. It was real. Nicely done. What about his assertion that Super Furry Animals were pretty much one of the if not the best kind of band of Britpop of 90s?
They're my favourites of the Welsh contingent for me.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of them, but they're probably one of them. They were huge, weren't they? Super.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, I wasn't. It's just not really my sort of thing. But it's not dark enough for me, is it?
Yeah, I'm the same with the Manics. Like, I can appreciate what a good band they are, but they're just not for me.
Oh, really? Depends on which album we're talking about, but
on my street.
But Super Furries now, they were huge, weren't they? Huge part.
I remember I was at university and they played on. I looked it up. It's on YouTube. They played on the. Do you remember the kids' Saturday morning TV show? It's not just Saturday.
You said in the interview. Yeah.
Danny Minogue and Gaz Top presented.
I like Gaz Top. What happened to him?
Gaz Top.
He wasn't Newtreed.
No, I don't know. And anyway, I watched it on there, and I went to town and bought the single after watching it, and then I met up with my mate Darren that night. We were going to the Thekla, and he had done exactly the same thing. He'd watched them on It's Not Just Saturday and gone into town and bought the single with exactly the same as me.
Yeah.
What a coincidence, eh?
I really liked. I speak about this quite a lot. I really like their branding. I talk about bands branding, and now that all their singles look the same and stuff. I liked all that. I actually saw them in 2005. Do you remember? I don't know if it was around when you were in Bristol, but there was a free festival called the Ashton Court Festival.
No, I don't think so.
Do you know Ashton Court?
Sounds familiar, but I don't know why.
It's just like a stately home thing just outside, on the outskirts of Bristol. And they had a free festival there every year for a while. And I saw them there. I think it was 2005. Yeah, like I said, I'm not really a massive fan, but I think they were all right.
I saw them in 98, I think, something like that in Bristol. They were amazing.
So that would have been sort of around their peak sort of popularity, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was quite interesting how fond he was of Oasis.
Yeah.
He's not. Yeah, is he a different generation to us almost?
Yeah.
He would be 10 years
quite
a different
lot
generation.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a millennial.
Which leads me on to a point I was going to make is I think the people more exciting about these Oasis gigs aren't us, our generation.
Yeah.
I think it's more a younger generation, which is good, right? But like you, when he said, "Are you going?" I didn't even think about it. I was just not bothered.
Oh, I did want to go, but I
I'm
wasn't.
not bothered.
I didn't mind.
I've seen them. I've seen them when they were good.
Yeah.
Really good. Do you know what I mean? It's just rather spend my money on going to see bands that I haven't seen, maybe. Maybe people his age, maybe not young, but people his age are more excited about the Oasis thing.
Yeah, so how old he would have been, like a kid when they were getting really big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did see them, I think, but it took 2002
He said,
when they were a bit
2002.
shit, which I think they'll be a bit shit now.
But your comment
they'll
actually
be
on
good,
that
man.
Heathen Chemistry, it made me re-listen to it. And
How was it?
It's an awful album.
There's problems with it, but there's some really good songs on it. But the big problem for me is Noel sings too many of them. And there's like a feeling of it that it's like, Liam's just half in it in the band.
It's not bothered. Well, it's not. They sort of started writing they weren't really rock songs on that album, are they? They're just songs. Do you know what I mean?
What kind of songs?
There's no balls to it, is there? There's no.
Right.
It's not really
Right.
because Liam's vocal needs to be, those shouting rock and roll songs.
I do
It's
like
done it
Stop
now,
Crying Your Heart Out though.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's a good song.
Yeah.
There's some all right songs on it, but as an album, it's a bit shit. Isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's what I think about all the Oasis albums since being out.
Since definitely maybe.
Shit albums, all right songs here and there.
Nah, fair enough.
But yeah, someone's excited to see Oasis because they've sold out all their gigs, haven't they? So I don't know. Maybe some people are.
That'd be good, man.
excited
That'd be
about
great.
it. I'm a bit lazy though. It's like the whole Glastonbury thing. I just can't be bothered to sit there for a day trying to get tickets for it.
No.
I just
No.
can't think of anything worse. That's probably why I'll never go again.
Sure. Well, we're media now. Get on the guest list, man. We're media.
Yeah, I can say, there's only like not many 90s bands play there anymore. Could try.
Really?
I can't get hold of the
Have a go.
Evises. Tried, haven't I?
Get Emily on the blower. Go.
It'd be good to get her on the podcast, but it's difficult.
Yeah. Dave, did you ever go to Newport TJ's when you were living there?
No, I went to the Newport Centre.
Okay.
What's TJ's? Was that a club or a venue?
A venue. It's where most
Where
of the
did we didn't
touring
we go
bands-
to a gig, you and me in Newport?
Did we?
Luke doesn't remember anything, so you'll have to tell
I
him.
don't remember stuff.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, I definitely went to the Newport Centre, I think, a few times.
Okay.
So did Luke. He just can't remember.
No, I went to Cardiff to see Pulp. It's like their first gig after the Brits
yeah.
debacle. I went to see with Dave in Cardiff for that.
Well,
That's what I'm
wafted his
thinking
bum.
of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard the new Pulp song, by the way, while we're talking about Pulp?
Yeah, I was going to say we should have done this in the pre thing, but let's do it now.
Fuck it, there's no rules, man.
No, fuck it. We make our own rules.
Well, no, there's no rules. You don't need to make them.
All right, there's no rules. Yeah, I think it's good. And I'm not a massive
Yeah.
Pulp fan, but I think it's good. I like the video and stuff. I think they still look cool. I think they're going to do well.
Yeah, agreed.
I think they've still maintained the essence of what is Pulp, right? So
Yeah.
it sounds like a Pulp song, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
I'd probably go and see them. I've never really seen them before anyway, but because I think they'd still be quite enjoyable to watch.
Oh man, Oasis would be good as well.
Yeah,
Of course they will.
I think it is just all the annoyance. If you could just go on it online, get an Oasis ticket for a semi-reasonable price, I'd probably think about going. But it's all that shit
all the
that goes
hassle.
with it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And they do attract thuggish people as well. I don't like that. Like I went to
You
see
don't like
Liam
the
Gallagher
geezers, do you? You hate
a
geezers,
couple
don't
of
you?
years ago. There's just some thug types there.
They're just having a night out, aren't they? Just enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
I'd rather they weren't there.
They're football boys.
Well,
aren't
there,
they?
brother, you weren't there. You fucking
Probably.
hummus eating cunt.
I like the crowd of a Pulp concert better than that.
Them or yours, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, the hummus
Sure.
geeks. Talking about TJs in Newport, Whole Therapy and Daisy Chainsaw.
Right.
What a bill.
Mm.
That gig must have been insane. If anyone went to that gig, let us know in the comments. Also, I had to check this because I didn't believe Neil.
You questioned this. You questioned him.
I'm
What the fuck?
trying to up Neil him every time. I have
Okay,
to.
that's fair. Yeah.
So, but he's he's done his research and I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, Stereophonics 8 #1 albums they've had. That's
Wow.
mental, isn't it? That's
It
a
really
lot.
is. Yeah.
And so I checked it, and the only album not to go top 10 was Keep Calm and Carry On in 2009, which went to number 11.
Mm,
They've all sort
there
of,
you go.
most of them are top 5. And yeah, it's 8 #1s. That's
Wow.
consistent. And that's like recent ones as well. I think the last one went to number 1.
I think they're a bit like the Killers, Stereophonics, in the sound.
Maybe.
Huh.
Got a big
Only
sound, haven't they? They've got a big,
Yeah,
full
big sound.
haven't
Yeah.
We've got a great voice, hasn't he?
Oh,
Gary's
amazing
voice.
That's,
Yeah.
That was always my beef. I don't really like the Stereophonics music, much of it, but I think his voice is one of the best voices out there.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, that's a pretty good record, isn't it? 8 #1 albums.
Bad at all. Yeah.
I mean, that's Westlife territory, isn't it?
Did they have
Yeah.
8 albums?
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
That's
Must have done.
hideous.
Yeah, 12 songs on each of those albums. That's like
Yeah.
that's nearly that's over 100.
It's a lot of
songs
Westlife.
that shit.
They can't have had 8 albums, can they?
Oh, I don't know. Shall I have a look?
Yeah, go on, look it up. But yeah, those pop bands, they pump them out. They pump albums out like fucking all the time, right? So I reckon
Like
at least 8.
cakes.
Like cakes, don't they? You know how people pump out cakes? It's exactly like that.
12 albums.
12
What?
albums. Is that
12
including like
albums.
greatest hits? That's not including greatest hits. That's like studio albums.
That is studio albums, I
Yeah.
think.
Wow.
Oh, that's awful.
Do you reckon anyone's got all 12?
Get involved in the comments if
Probably.
you've got all.
If you've got all
12,
12 Westlife albums, let us know.
We won't
But
judge.
imagine being trapped somewhere and all you've got are those 12 Westlife albums. To
Entire
listen to.
discography of Westlife.
That'd be Luke's worst nightmare.
It would. Yeah.
He's got a record player, and the only vinyl he's got is the 12
Westlife.
Westlife albums.
Oh man, it'd drive you insane, wouldn't it? It'd drive you literally mad.
I wonder if it would turn you into a Westlife lover by the time you
you
got
would.
rescued from the album.
Like
Ireland.
Stockholm Syndrome type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
And you would,
Dublin
for the rest of
syndrome.
your life, you just burnt all your other records and you just had those 12
Yeah.
albums.
Yeah. And this whole behind me, I just have 100 copies of each album.
And the other albums, you'd be physically sick trying to listen to some Mogwai.
Right, like Clockwork
Some-
Orange. Right. Yeah.
You've been Westlifed. It's a good experiment.
Yeah.
Catatonia are an interesting one, aren't they? They're very pop,
Mm.
but they still sort of had an indie sort of call to them as well, didn't they?
Yeah. I'm not. a
Yeah,
big
again,
fan
her
of them, to
voice
be
was the
honest.
main draw, right?
And her, not just her
Yeah,
voice,
and her
she's a
charisma. Yeah, that's
very,
true. Yeah.
I think
Charismatic.
she was quite
Mm.
quite an icon of that time, wasn't she? Like she did that duo with Tom Jones, that Christmas song,
Yeah.
didn't she?
Yeah.
which she can't play anymore.
Why?
She did a. It's
Ah.
problematic, isn't it? It's about
Wokeness
basically
gone mad, isn't it?
not letting her go home, isn't it? Basically,
Like, Baby, It's Cold Outside.
But
That's
it is
problematic,
Baby,
isn't
It's
it?
Cold Outside.
it is Baby, It's Cold.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Her and Tom Jones did a version.
Yeah.
Hmm.
She did that collab with Space. They did a brilliant version of that at Shine On. I told you with the screens that had Keris on the screen.
Oh, no, he didn't tell us that. No.
Didn't I? Well, it was good.
No.
Yeah. They did that song and they had her face on the screen, sort of doing the duet with.
Mm.
That's a great song, that though, isn't it? I just like that.
What's
line.
the song? I can't remember what it is.
Oh, I don't know what the name of it is. Tom. What's the song called? But
It's
I just
called
like
The Ballad of Tom
lyrics.
Jones.
It might be.
Yeah, that's it. The Ballad of Tom Jones.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Oh, I'd like that one.
Yeah, it's a good song. So yeah, she was. I think she was a big part of the old '90s scene when she had Keris. Yeah, and then there's Catatonia as well with those massive hits in the mid '90s.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mulder and
Road
Scully. There was
Rage.
the whole X Files
Road
thing was
Rage.
massive anyway, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
Mulder and Scully thing. Huge, wasn't it? X Files.
Never
Yeah,
watched
did you watch it? No, I don't think I
No.
did.
Not
either.
really.
Seen a couple of episodes, maybe. Yeah.
I just used to watch a lot of Jerry Springer. I remember at university.
Yeah. It's good, wasn't
I
it?
think they should remake X-Files so I can watch it.
I think they should remake
You
Jerry
can still watch it,
Springer.
man. Just watch
Don't
the
want
old
to
ones.
watch the old ones. Don't want to.
Yeah.
I want it
They did
remade
make
for
a-
me now.
Didn't they do some new ones? For sure. It was a good
Yeah.
afternoon. Even drink tea, get stoned, watch Jerry Springer.
Sure.
Studying didn't really come into it, did it?
No, didn't do much at university apart from that.
That was your course, though, actually. You had to watch
Yeah,
was.
I had to watch
Jerry Springer and get stoned.
Exactly. I was just
your
doing
homework.
research.
How could you not talk about Gavin and Stacey when you're talking about Wales?
It's not 90s.
Well, it's not
Dave, It's
90s,
a
for a
90s
start.
podcast. And Luke hates
Yeah.
him.
And it's shit.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough.
I mean, I'm not a massive fan, to be fair. I watch it, but why do you really like it?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's like a
Is it because you're
show
half
we've all
Welsh?
watched as a family.
There you
So
go.
it's
Because you're
fair.
half
it's
Welsh.
got a
That's
bit
fair.
of that edge to it.
Yeah, that's
angle
quite
to it.
nice.
Yeah. I like the fact that Gavin wears Harrington jackets. That's about the only thing I like
He
about him.
does. Yeah, he does wear
Yeah.
Harrington jackets. You're right.
Does.
And
Wears
he's
them
got
well
your
as well. He looks
haircut.
good. He does. He does. Yeah.
Hey, you look a bit like him, actually.
Again.
You could have easily played that role.
Out of all of us,
Right. He's quite
look
short
like
as well,
him.
isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon I could have done it. Yeah.
yeah.
Big EMF fan.
Is he?
That guy. Yeah.
Hey, he does stuff with Stu Whiffen, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
They seem to be friends.
When we spoke to Stu, yeah, I think he.
And
does
they
a
used to
lot of
DJ
indie
together.
stuff.
Yeah, he's an indie kid like us.
Yeah. Well, that'll explain the Harrington jacket, right?
There you go.
Yeah, that's it for this one. If you have enjoyed it, or if you haven't, give it a thumbs up. Get involved in the comments and let us know your favourite Welsh bands. A few we forgot to mention: Gorky, Psychotic. I can never get the name right.
Monkey.
Monkey. A few other bands. Let us know we've missed out. But read
I was
the book
thinking we
as
should
well.
we could do like a wang on Welsh music, maybe.
Yes,
one
we
day.
should probably do that.
That was this.
I was thinking, yeah, have we done it too much in this? We
Maybe.
haven't talked about that many bands, have we? So
No,
No.
because there's so many more to talk
60
about.
Foot Dolls and all those sort of bands.
Yeah,
isn't there?
exactly. Gorky's, yeah, Mellis, loads of great bands. Helen Love,
Yeah.
we didn't even mention. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we will do one. We
All
will
right,
do
all
one.
right. We'll leave it
Yeah.
for another day.
But get involved in the comments anyway, and then that can give us fuel for the wang. So
One day, yeah.
yeah. Thanks again to our sponsors, Shy Curios, for sponsoring the podcast. Go onto their website. There'll be a link in the show notes. Do us a favour, just go and buy something. Go and buy some vinyl or whatever. If you're going to buy some
Cheese
vinyl
label.
this weekend or this week,
Yeah, fuck record
go
store
there.
day.
yeah, go there and buy it. Help us out. Help Richard out.
But to be clear, we're not getting anything when they do that, are we?
No,
No.
No.
I'm just helping our sponsor out.
Yeah.
Shy Curios.
Well done.
If you're listening, then rate and review and share it with your friends so they can find this amazing 90s indie podcast.
If you're new to the podcast, welcome. They've got 87 other episodes in there. So if you're into 90s music, all your favourite bands will be there. Shall I mention a few people?
I
Have any Welsh?
Have got any Welsh? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. No.
We've tried. We are trying. It's not like we're not trying.
Although we do talk about 60-foot dolls quite a lot on the Wanna Dies episode, so you can find out all about their antics there if you're a 60-foot dolls fan. As we mentioned a couple of times already, so I'll make a mixtape for every episode. So this is going to be a Welsh only mixtape. So yeah, few things on there. Mannix, of course. Mentioned earlier, Make Stevens, and yeah, just a whole load of good Welsh stuff. So have a listen to that on Spotify.
But that's it for this one. Tune in next week for episode 89. We're nearly at the 90s of the 90s.
It'll be a wang.
So tune in to next week for our a wang. Be wang-tastic, won't it?
Nice.
But that's it for this one. Dave, wrap it up.
See you in a minute.